Okay, little by little, some are still there at the coffee room, but I politely ask you to come to the seminar room. We have really ambitious and full program today, so let's start in time. So, good afternoon all, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues. I'm happy to see new faces and familiar faces, and I'm really looking forward for this afternoon. And also welcome warmly those who have come here at the stage at the place remotely. So we are quite many here today, so more or less 100 registered here at Botta venue and more or less 30 participants online. So the topic, without saying, is interesting in many points. So it is my great pleasure to moderate this session, which is organized by CaaS Nordic and ITS Finland, together with transport logistics companies. The seminar is sponsored by Limova, Fintraffic, and Logi. So thank you also for that. And behind the venue, you may find also the stands, so feel free to talk during the coffee breaks. As mentioned, the program is really full and interesting, so we encourage to keep the discussions mainly during the coffee breaks and also after the seminar at the cocktails at 4 p.m. But after each track, we aim to have a small time for discussions as well. So the tracks are the keynote speakers, authority views, and industry perspective. So my name is Noora Lähde, and I'm working in the Ministry of Transport and Communications in Finland. I'm working as a special advisor, mainly in digitalization of logistics. So we have prepared a strategy, and now are really the actions there. And the collaboration is the key there. And before the ministry, I've been working at the administration in Traficom and in Liikennevirasto. So really good to see also the familiar faces. So I'm especially thrilled about this afternoon. We will have really excellent speakers here today on the topic of the disruption in the logistic operating environment. And the topic will be the digitalization of logistics in the north-south transport corridors. So the concrete case examples, success stories, and also really important to hear and discuss what are the bottlenecks, challenges. Together we can solve these. Especially now with the challenging times in logistics, due to the Russia's attack to Ukraine, the logistics in challenge, the cross-border collaboration is the key. And on the other hand, the digitalization is to be seen as a core answer to our needs. The changes may happen really quickly, and it may result cost efficiency, clean and resilient future. So please be active. I encourage you all to join the discussions. And now, before the next speakers, some technical guidance. So the discussions I already mentioned, and those who are attending remotely, we kindly ask you to add the questions in written format, and Lasse and Alex will follow the discussions there, and if we have time, also we will pick it to the program to answer these. And also the seminar will be streamlined, and it will be streamlined in ITS Finland YouTube channel. So after the seminar, the streamlined version will be there available. And we encourage to be active also in social media. The event may be used with the hashtag LogDigi2023. But now, without further ado, let's go with the program. Fasten your seatbelts, and let's start with the organizers. Sorry about this. Organizers. It's on the different slides. So, first, there will be a few words from Mr. Jarkko Rantala, who has an extensive background in digitalization of logistics and development of logistics. Currently, he's acting as a chairman in CaaS Nordic, and after him will be Mr. Marko Forsblom, who has an extensive background in ITS, networks and ecosystems, and building the new cooperation. So, gentlemen, the floor is yours, and Jarkko will start.
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And on behalf of CaaS Nordic, I will warmly welcome all of you here in Botta and also online participants to the DigiLog conference. And we have today a very topical and essential agenda to discuss. I think Noora already told almost everything I thought to raise up here, but I think I still take a few minutes to raise some keywords or some development paths what are going on. So as logistics professionals, we have seen a lot of challenges, including fast and enormous changes in logistics markets, and also geopolitics during last few years. And I think the situation is going to be challenging and at least very interesting in the future too. European Union and its member countries has committed to very ambitious targets in green transition in our path to carbon neutral transport systems and the whole society. And the role of digitalization and utilization of data analysis is one main solution in addition to technological development to gain these targets. Logistics markets have met fast and huge changes during last years. For example, availability and pricing of containers have had effects on global trade, increased cost pressures, and slowed supply chain operations. Although the price levels are quite normal in container transport at the moment, but the transport system is still quite in uncertain situation. So it's also very interesting future what we have see in coming years. At the same time, this present state has opened new opportunities for new transport routes, new logistics services, to meet the customer demands of supply chains. Geopolitics has also changed transport corridors, material flows, and supply chains both in global and also in domestic levels. At the same time, we have to keep in mind the basic principles and needs of efficiency and profitability, which still exist in supply chain management. Thus, the main conclusion of this is that the need for resilience and flexibility is increasingly important characteristics in supply chain management. As a consequence, we see the increasing role of risk management in supply chains, and that's very important for me because that was one of my favorite topics in my academic work in a long time ago. It was 10, 20 years ago. But now it's more topical than ever before. So it's very important to keep in mind. So how to increase the transparency, reliability, fast and smooth operations, which affect also the profitability of business, and not to forget national emergency supply either. So we hear a lot of interesting presentations today relating to these topics and these phenomena, what we see around us, and how development of transport corridors and digitalized processes will increase our competitivity and also connectivity. So finally, on behalf of CaaS Nordic, I want to thank our co-organizer ITS Finland, sponsors Fintraffic, Limova and Logi, and speakers to enable this very important conference and discussion forum. And also thanks for all of you for coming here today, and let's have a fruitful discussions today and of very interesting and crucial topics in logistics. So now I give floor to ITS Finland and Marko.
Thank you, Jarkko, for your words, and also warmly welcome to on our behalf. ITS Finland is a non-profit association. We have been working with digitalizations for 2 decades so far. And you could say that never before data and digitalization hasn't been so visible and so important that it is today. You could say that we are in the middle of a green and digital transition. In ITS Finland we have 110 members, and we are on daily basis working with digitizing transport system. We are trying to solve those transport policy challenges we have, and at the same time we are also trying to create some opportunities for our companies in innovation and economic policy levels. You could say that today we have to serve both those transport policy objectives and also those innovation and economy policy objectives. Just yesterday it was launched or published a report where it was said that Finnish carbon handprint is bigger than our Finnish carbon footprint. That means that our companies are exporting their technologies and their services serving global emission targets. And you could say that our kind of target or goal is to at the same time try to save the world and same time create new innovations, new jobs for Finnish companies. You could even say that in this era and in this field, just do good, the money will follow. I think that could be even our motto in this field. Without any further words, I warmly also like to welcome you all, and let's have a nice discussions, and let's hear very nice presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now our brains are also tuned to the right direction. So thank you, gentlemen. So let's go forward with the program. So we will go to the keynote speakers, which will be really interesting. So first will come from the industry. So Mr. Niko Korte, who is working as a head of fossil-free business platforms at SSAB. He has an excellent overview about industry supply chains and the need of sustainable and digital solutions. Apart from his current tasks, he has worked as a director of business development in SSAB. So Niko, floor is yours.
Thank you, Noora. Happy to see so many people here today, and thank you for inviting me. First of all, I can say that logistics works. I heard that there are 100 people and many in this room despite of the weather, so I'm happy to see that logistics people know their logistics. So it's a great starting point for this event. My name is Niko Korte. For 2 weeks responsible for digitalization at SSAB and then going into new role. So I will start building fossil-free steel mills in Rahe and Luleå. So we have this large industrial program that we have announced, and my responsibilities will be then business processes and IT systems for the new fossil-free steel mills going forward. But in current role, our team has developed Track&Trace for SSAB's deliveries, and that's the reason why I'm here today. But just to connect to the bigger picture of fossil-free, obviously, you know, the end goal for SSAB, even though the most visible part of our fossil-free journey is now the steel production part, but the end goal is fossil-free value chain entirely, and that's where logistics come into play, and that's where the digital stuff becomes important, because we need to be able to track what is the CO2 footprint of our deliveries. And that's also embedded in our Track&Trace here. Let's get going. As said, we have implemented Track&Trace for our customers and for our own internal purposes at SSAB. I'm going to share with you a case example how this happened in our industrial context. So the starting point, always good that you have some kind of business support when you start a big change project in the company, right? And in this case, I was really happy to discover that there was, you know, both customer push and a business support. Customers, we did a survey that what kind of digital services, dear customers, you would like to have. And the most common answer was order tracking, transport tracking. We need to know where our material is. The supply chain management is ever more important. And especially in the industry, if you don't have steel, production line is stopped, it will be costly. So you need to be able to know both in the sort of macro perspective that when is material arriving, but also in the micro perspective that when do I keep my warehouse or manufacturing site open to receive the delivery. So very simple and practical stuff where the digital just helps to make things more easier and smoother. And then we have our own internal reasons. So we need to be able to optimize logistics better. We need to have better understanding of performance of different carriers. We want to avoid different detention fees of containers and this kind of questions. So we have both customer-facing needs and internal logistics optimization-related needs. And there was a high business demand for this. But then in the other side of the equation, we had also some initial challenges because, thousands of loads, millions of tons, multimodal, 150 plus countries all over the world. So how do you really start tracking that and how do you enforce that globally and where do you start to have some kind of focus? That was a major question for us to solve. Then the data for the load creation was unharmonized and scattered across different systems. If I remember correctly, it was 8 systems for the mill dispatching alone. So, and this is not unique challenge. So all big industrial companies basically have similar starting points. So sometimes digitalization is not necessarily because we don't have the technologies, but it's the change effort that is needed to harmonize data or processes or ways of working. And there are not that many examples of this actually in our industry, and we didn't have a team in place who could do it. But the most important was in place, which is the business need. And we started and we selected this kind of approach. So first of all, the project core team and the people. So I wanted this to be a business-driven project, not like a technology-first project. So I appointed actually a project manager here that had a line organization experience from supply chain. And then for him, I gave people who know the tech, and that was the kind of the main axis of that's like the core team, like a technical project manager and a business background project lead. And we pretty soon arrived in this setup that we need to first harmonize the data on our end and the awareness of the loads and the load IDs and all that stuff, but also do the change management with different departments inside of the company who run the logistics dispatching and have the contacts with different carriers. And we need to do a setup where we collect the data in one place and have a one version of the truth. And then we distribute it to different places. So we create reports for our logistics people, for our supply chain, for our sales people to know where the material is, and then we connect that to services and portals that our customers are using to connect. And the same data is distributed with different layouts to different user groups. So we don't want to solve only the customer-facing part or the needs of logistics, but we wanted to have a holistic view. So one service layer, and we needed to build that on our own with our sort of rather custom technology so that we could harmonize stuff on top of the old IT systems. But then also very important was that we partner up where we don't have our own muscle. So we have these visibility providers available in the world where you can have they are already connected to the carriers through their other customers. So we don't have to invent that again. So someone is better than us in doing that footwork for us. So we focused that we want to create an onboarding process for our carriers and have a systematic approach with them. So what kind of relationship we want with them, and we connected that to our business relations with carrier, that okay, the tracking and transparency is important for us going forward, and let's do together. And here is, by the way, our partner, and we want you to work together to get these connections ongoing. And that proved to be a really successful recipe for the ramp up, and I'll show you the results later. And as said, the change management was important, that we very early on contacted all the necessary parties at internals, but also started working with the carriers, because our going assumption was that it would be really time-consuming effort to talk to all carriers and get them along to this sort of change journey with us. And I don't know, was it because we started it so early and we sort of were prepared for a big effort there? I think that was, to me, the biggest positive surprise here, how well the network of our carrier partners sort of responded and reacted to this, even though we had a third party where the data would actually be connected from the different telematic systems and mobile devices and all those systems. Okay, results. So we started the project 21 in fall, and the project time was 6 months for the phase 1, and we had a go live initially for our Nordic meal deliveries for few modes, transport modes, in January 1 year ago, and this is the results now from the December 22 where we are now. So I think the project time was rather short in like industrial context, and I'm quite happy that we were able to chop it also into manageable pieces. So first do the meals, then look at the downstreams and so on. And so now we have basically for trucks, containers, vessels, and now also for the trains, we have the ETA forecasts, and for the majority we have also event tracking every 100 kilometers, which is highly valuable information for us. So we get to see for the first time, what is the real pickup time accuracy, what is the real transport time. We can share that information with our customers. We know where the stuff is going around the world, so we have the true visibility. We're gaining that, and that is really valuable for us going forward, and we've received really good feedback also from the customers, and we were able to also to shut down some obsolete systems for this, so that was also valuable, so we can simplify also our technical landscape. Now, with regards of the results, then here there are differences between the modes, and quite frankly, now, and this is actually the topic of the panel maybe, and sort of a message to different organizations here, that when you have a global place where you can connect for the GPS data, like maritime traffic, so you can see that containers, we are at 100% tracking rate, like it was almost since day one. Whereas trucks, so full tracking with 15 minutes or 100 kilometers event updates, only 37%, and that's going up and down and up and down, and we have continuous efforts to make sure that the numbers sort of keep rising. And there's a difference, again, that there you have a source of data and a platform where to tap into to get it, whereas with the truck transportations, it's more fragmented, and you can see the result very clearly in the numbers. Luckily, we have a very high rate of loads created in the system, and we get at least the ETA and the forecasts there, and vessels is then somewhere in between. But I think this is an important message that, I mean, if we have different modes and the data is described in different ways, we are getting non-standardized results, and especially when you go to multimodal, that's what you get. To conclude, and where we're going next, so we're going to continue the career onboarding. We have phase 2 in the program. We're adding subcontractors, freight forwarders to the platform at the moment, adding 1 mill from United States as well, and then improving, adding AI models for calculation of ETAs for certain routes, so that accuracy is good when we have the data already, but we want to make it even better. And then the sustainability metrics, so we want to be able to follow up also the CO2 footprint of the deliveries in the future, so we have to prepare technically also for that future, for the fossil-free. And there is a nice screen capture of the tool, how it looks like for internal users, and then we have a different layout for customer users. And I think it has been an interesting project that will continue, but so far already I can say that SSAB is at least happy and has gained certainly big and important results. Thank you very much. Happy to answer any questions if there is time.
Thank you really much, Niko, and the questions. We will have a short time for questions after the 2 other keynote speakers. But thank you really much, and also you will attend to the panel, so we will have more deep dive to the questions. So let's go forward with the program. So next we will have Mr. Tomi Solakivi, who is working as an assistant professor in maritime business and policy at the University of Turku, and he has been working several years with the economics and logistics. So, Tomi, please come to the stage.
Okay, good afternoon. You already kind of got an introduction of me, so let's forget that and go straight to the presentation. My title is a bit sarcastic, or at least I considered it to be one, just because of the fact that we had the COVID crisis. And then we were adjusting to the new normal. And right when we learned how to deal with the new normal, the Russians decided to go crazy, and now we are once again learning to adjust to a new normal, once again a different one. I was specifically asked not to talk about Finnish good flows because I believe we have another presentation on that, so I'm trying to discuss about the big picture instead. Presenting some pointers about the impact of COVID and the war in how the logistics and supply chains have been adjusting during the last couple of years. As said, I'm an assistant professor in maritime business, so basically I like to talk about ships. So that's where I'm going to start. This is from Sea Intelligence. It is a statistics of schedule reliability in container traffic. And you can quite clearly see the sort of the normal schedule reliability before the COVID crisis, basically altering between 70 and 80%. So that's how our supply chains had gotten used to work. If you get some stuff in a container, there's an 80% chance that it will be where it should be on time. Well, after the COVID started, it declined to close to 30%. So instead of 80, close to 30%. And we all know, or at least we should know, what that does to supply chains. More deviation, less security, less standardization, less efficiency, increased costs, increased challenges in supply chains. As we can see, the schedule reliability has sort of started to get better, and at the same time also the average delay, so basically how many days on average a container vessel is late, has been improving. So in a sense, we should be happy, right? The situation is not that simple. Already in one of the previous presentations, the container freight rate was mentioned. And this was another, let's say, phenomenon, at least partly attached to the COVID crisis. We had the lockdowns in China, we had the difficulties in the shore side in North America, causing delays in container traffic. Hundreds of container vessels waiting for a place to be loaded and unloaded. Lack of capacity, at least in the short term, causing very high freight rates, and now we have come down. So everything should be in order, right? The reliability is improving, the prices are going down, so supply chains should be happy about the situation. Unfortunately, the explanation is less positive. This is a time series from one of our German colleagues, the ISW, and they estimate and present the container throughput index, sort of what is the amount of containers that go through the system. And there are two lines in this picture for one purpose. The lighter blue one is the Chinese ports. So basically we can see that since 2020, the Chinese ports and the throughput through Chinese ports has been increasing and improving all the time. Whereas if we take Chinese ports out of the equation, the traffic is not growing anymore outside Chinese ports. So basically the reason why the reliability is improving, why the prices are going down, is not about improved efficiency, it's about the sad fact that the volumes are not growing anymore. And even though I don't have a picture here, because of the high freight rates, the industry once again reacted as it always does. It started to build new capacity. So a rather significant amount of world's container capacity is in construction yards at the moment, in a situation where the demand is already declining and the prices have gone down. So we are probably seeing 2008, 2009 once again. Okay. Well, something similar at least. Well, to a wider picture, here's a global supply chain pressure index from the Fed of New York. It is a compilation of different indices, freight indices, purchases managers indexes and so on. As we can see in the short term, we have had rather huge variation in the index. So prior to the COVID crisis, less movement. Then because of the COVID crisis, obviously the uncertainty in supply chains increased. Then we came down and then it started all over again. So in a sense, illustrating the current situation, what is happening in the supply chains. But I would also like to get this to a longer perspective. Here is the same index all the way from 98. So basically, for close to 20 years, we had a rather stable situation considering the supply chains. This is the part of the previous picture. So basically, we had 20 years of time to adjust our supply chains and to plan our supply chains and to configure our supply chains. And now we are in a completely new normal, as said. So the supply chains have to become different, meeting the current and future challenges. Then a couple of words of the impact of war in Ukraine and Russian aggression in Ukraine. I compiled this set of slides on Monday, and this is a snapshot of flight radar. So basically, having each and every single flight that has and plane that has a transponder on a map. And there are a couple of observations. First of all, obviously the Ukraine and the surroundings, no flight activity, or at least no flight activity with transporters on. But the bigger picture and the sort of a comparison to previous time is that normally we would have, as Finnair always advertised, the short northern route full of planes going to Asia and from Asia through Russian airspace. Currently only Russian and Chinese planes in there. So this kind of illustrates the change that logistics has had to adjust to. No more Russian airspace, no more Russian connections, and so on. Which then takes me at least partly back to shipping. This is, on the left, we have a new piece of news, just a couple of days after the Russian attack, telling that world's largest shipping companies, especially container shipping companies, suspending bookings to and from Russia. During the first month after the beginning of the war, the port calls to Russian ports declined for 60%, and they have gone down ever more. On the right is an illustration closer to our home base, the Baltic Sea. It illustrates container volumes in major container ports in the Baltic Sea, including St. Petersburg. And I have highlighted the volume of St. Petersburg just to highlight the scale of how much and what is the share of container traffic that has been withdrawn from rotation. Obviously, shipping companies and shipping routes cannot continue as they were because of the fact that volumes have declined so much. So that is having an impact on rotation of container vessels, the frequency of calls and so on, which is and will be a challenge for efficient supply chains. At the same time, I just a couple of days ago, in fact, I ran into these pictures. These are from New York Times already from a couple of months ago, illustrating the fact that it could be a simplification to say that everything has changed. In a sense that on the left side, we have imports to Russia from different countries. And as we can see, many of the Western countries especially, the imports from them have declined, whereas at the same time, China and Turkey have increased their share. On the right, there is the exports after the invasion, and we can see the purple arrows indicating that it is a simplification to say that Russia has been sort of disconnected from the world trade. And why is that? Because Russia is one of the top producers of many critical raw materials. So basically from the perspective of supply chains and from the perspective of current production, there is no option. Or yes, there might be an option, but it is time consuming and money consuming to change the way we do business. So that is a challenge that is ongoing and that has to be solved somehow. And some individual firms have in fact done so. I am using Neste as an example just because of the fact that they went public already in February, that they are basically changing from Ural grade to Brent grade. So basically changing their raw material sources. And the map illustrates the difference in their transport logistics. So let's say in a normal situation, the distance from Primorsk, the oil port in the Baltic Sea, was 170 kilometers, whereas the closest port to import North Sea oil is 2,000 kilometers away. And this is just an example of how supply chains have to change and what kind of challenges, even in a distance and transport way, it creates to them. I already got assigned to finish in a couple of minutes, so I will conclude. As said, uncertainty in supply chains is in record-breaking levels. So that is the truth. That is the current situation, and that is something we have to do something about. Ordinary transport routes are either entirely closed or they are disturbed. Air transport obviously has been rerouted. Liner shipping is rerouting and has rerouted with longer routes than before, with, well, at least partly higher prices than before. Even during the COVID, the Europe-Asia air transport freight prices went up 30%, and then they have remained roughly, at least, on the same level. If there is, in fact, I noticed there was somebody from Finnair here, so he would be able to comment whether I'm still right. And there is always the discussion about the rail transport as well, because the current route goes through Russia, and at least part of them go through Russia. So what to do with them? Sanctions affect transport chains and volumes. St. Petersburg, as said, is a major container port in the Baltic Sea. Take that out of the rotation and we have challenges to solve. As said, Russia is a major producer of many key raw materials. So basically, if we are not sourcing from there, we have to source from somewhere else. And what are the options then? Most likely with a higher cost, most likely challenges with the supply as well. So there are many industries that have to cope with that. And then a couple of words for the future. I think the last couple of years have taught us that, well, trade and geopolitics are connected after all. So we kind of pretended it wouldn't be so, but we have seen that trade and geopolitics are connected after all. We are and have been very dependent on Russia. Well, there are other major players that we are even more dependent on. So, how would I say? To rephrase a common Finnish saying, it might be that we are running away from the bear and we are, well, running into a dragon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tomi, for sharing the current situations in the global supply chains and the challenges we are facing. This is also a good reminder also for the importance of the common discussion to find the solutions and overcome the situation. So thank you once more. So let's continue. Our third keynote speaker will be Ms. Ulla Tapaninen, who is a tenured associate professor of Maritime Transport at the Tallinn University of Technology. Ulla is specialized on sustainable and intelligent maritime transport, and she has an extensive background in the field from different positions, from working expert head of unit in international logistics in the city of Helsinki to different positions as professor and docent universities. Additionally, she knows the Finnish-Estonian transportation more than well, as she is a Finn working in Tallinn. So, welcome, Ulla. Come to the stage, please.
Good afternoon. It's really a pleasure to be here today and see so many old friends and colleagues through the years. So thank you for the opportunity. The topic of mine is about the Helsinki-Tallinn traffic. I will give, especially from the Finnish point of view, it's very boldly said here, it's a lifeline, and I'm going to show you some background, what's the reason for this, and then we see the situation at the moment, and then I will also look at the future, that where it goes. And I give you some of the ideas why are the reasons like that. First of all, when we look at the Finnish sea transport, the main point here is that it's not growing. So last 20 years, we have the volumes in Finland, total volumes have remained the same. But of course, there's lots of fluctuation, but it's about the same. So we are not here, when we're talking about sea transport, we are not in a growing market. If we want to make it more efficient, we have to, use the volume, transportation is a volume business, but we have to concentrate and we have to be better. It's not about growing up at the moment. So, but you all know that the national gross product of Finland has been growing. So where is the growth going? It's going for the services. So our export of services is improving a lot. And also, of course, there has been a switch from the, I would say, bulk production and bulk export to more and more industrial production. And another thing is about what are we transporting and importing to Finland? It is mainly bulk, liquid and solid bulk. So only 1/4 of Finnish transport are unitized cargo. And then there is a little bit more than, here 12% is containers. In principle, if a rule of thumb is that when we have containers, they are mainly overseas. So we are importing Asian goods and we are exporting our more valuable goods over the world. And then we have lorries and trailers. Trailer traffic is somewhere where we are transporting stuff without the driver to, for example, Germany. And then there is the lorry traffic, the traffic that goes the fastest over to Sweden or to Estonia. So we are talking here about the lorry traffic. And when we look at the other figure, we can see that 35-40% is going to Estonia. So actually, this is the fastest trip. What we are doing is for the Estonia. There is also, of course, some transport, and you say 1/4 is to Sweden, etc. It used to be biggest when I started in the 25 years ago in this market, but this Estonian traffic has changed totally the situation. Another figure about the same thing is that we can see that since the re-independence of Estonia, the lorry and truck traffic has been, all the time growing. It seems like there's, I don't know, self-sufficient. We can also see the passenger traffic here. There is fluctuation depending on the situation, but the lorry traffic continues growing. And it's been the Helsinki traffic that is growing a lot. The last figure over there, you can see the decline the last year. It's not decline, it's because the official statistics don't have the December yet. It was yesterday that Port of Helsinki came out with the figures of the for example, in sea passengers, it was like 6 million, 6.3 million. So it's not the level that it used to be, but it is, going a lot. So what is the reason for this? Why is this growing? Why is it so important for Finland? It is actually, how we go to the, theories, that the more valuable good you got, the faster it wants to go. It doesn't only want to go fast at sea, it wants to go fast at the port, and it wants to have the frequency so it doesn't have to wait. So, you know, the more and more Finland is importing and exporting, you know, high-value goods, the more and more they want to transport fast. This is a figure from last week. There are 13, vessels going back and forth. I used to work in University of Turku, and I must say that my, trips to Tallinn University are much faster. I don't have to wait so much, etc. It's even more frequent at the moment over there. 13 is amazingly many, large vessel transport. So if you miss one, you can take the next one. It's very, very. So it's not only about you don't actually. We can talk another day that it's not so big matter if it's fast at sea, but it's matter of if you have to wait at port or how big frequency you get. And, okay, then we can ask, why Helsinki? Why is it so that, Finland is a big country, one of the biggest in Europe actually, so why is it so over here? It's because if we look at where's the center of the point, center of production and center of people living here, they are in Riihimäki and in Hauho, which are not very far away from here. So actually, if you want to import something to Finland and you have one, warehouse, it should be in Hauho because that's the shortest distance to all the people in Finland. Of course, you don't put it in Hauho in that, field because there's no transport connections. You put it somewhere nearby the port and somewhere nearby the airport. But anyway, it is the location. It's also because the people are there. Where is the industrial production? It's in Riihimäki actually. So it is kind of really funny that even though we have this huge country, it's all so centrally located. And when you have so centrally located, what's the nearest port in here? And the only actual international airport. It's Helsinki-Vantaa and it's Helsinki. So it is there nearby the logistics wants to be, and that's why it is, geographically has been so valuable. Okay, now I've said you that what's the reason for this, that this is a lifeline for Finnish industry. But then we come to a very interesting point. Even though the cargo traffic is the biggest growing, there's the most volumes, the high-value good. So how is the transport managed? Not by cargo. It is managed by the passengers. So if you look at the figure of Tallinn income, we can see that almost 45%, more than 40% of income of Tallinn is coming from passenger transport. So even though we have this huge cargo transport, it is not the lifeline. It's not how it's run at the moment, where they get the money. They get the money from the passengers. And that's why we have those amazingly, glorious vessels over there, like the MyStar. Trucks don't need that kind of, glorious vessels. It's for the passengers. So even though we have this, frequent traffic, it is the passenger traffic that makes the system running. There could be, of course, all kinds of solutions. This is a figure from a very old study we've been making like more than 10 years ago, where we calculated the CO2 emissions of various alternatives. So these figures are not right. They are more than 10 years old, but you can see the differences. So even though in here, if we look at the truck traffic, that is very fast-going truck traffic, would having the most CO2 emissions and being the fast and flexible, there are all the other alternatives. Trailers, that would be a little bit slower. You have to have the new driver on the way. There could be a railways, but of course in rail ships there's lots of takes time in the ports, and of course there is a lot of, you have like a big vessel, and then you have a wagon, so of course it needs a requirement for that. Then you have a container vessel, that is environmentally very friendly. You can put several containers, but the time-wise it takes a lot of time. So is this, traffic we are having at the moment and this supply chain, can they wait so long? Then the containers can be on railroads a bit faster, and if there would be a tunnel, then of course that would be the most efficient way, but we don't have the tunnel at the moment. So at the moment we are over there where is the green ones, which is the fastest and most flexible way, even though with this fast traffic it's not, the most environmentally friendly. How about the future? Of course, EU is putting us very much towards the, linking the networks in Europe, this TEN-T network, and we can see here also the Helsinki-Finland traffic. But as as we can see the figure above there, most of the internal Finland traffic is by land. So Finland is at the moment operated by land transport and truck transport. So it's obvious that it goes also to the other sides as well. So there is a lot of, we have to do a lot if we want to change the traffic in Finland to trains. And also it's the same thing over there in the other side, like we can see that this amber train traffic at the moment it says that they don't have enough traffic. Maybe in the future. This is one of the things we have to think over. But much, much, much bigger change will come with these environmental regulations. I would say that, Martin Stofford is actually saying here that all the maritime transport will be changing in next 10 years or so. There is, it's as big change as there was when we changed from sailing to steam shipping. And it means also that all these regulations that are coming and pushing for the maritime sector will also have an effect on our supply chains. There are many ways they will adjust themselves. There's now one solution that we switch the fuel and that's it. Or there's no solution that we change from truck to containers or we change routes. There are all kinds of solutions. IMO is giving that there are design and operational measures or green fuels, etc. But they're the only ones. I've been putting up them that energy efficiency, improvements of energy efficiency has so far been one of the most, the things that had been used mostly. Even today when I'm taking my vessel back to Tallinn, it will leave 15 minutes early and they will save lots of fuel during that time and also lots of less CO2 emissions will be emitted because they will leave. But that's only one part of the story. There will be also new vessels over there and new fuels. There's a lot of new technological improvements going on. And as far as I could guess, or have been reading a lot on the areas, is that when they are saying that when we talk about distances less than 100 kilometers, then it's electricity. That's what it seems to be in the area. And if we are talking about electricity, it would mean that all the present concepts would change a lot. So what are the things there that are the ones that we are saving? Is it the speed or is it the loading distance? Is it the location? It's the cargo type? What is the ones that will remain the same as they are and what will change if we are moving to electricity? There was half a year ago or something a visionary report on Estonia-Finland future cooperation, and there were several topics that were named that we will be improving a lot with this cooperation. And one of them was transforming for Finland into sustainable transport corridor, meaning that already the governments have been committed themselves to this future. And last week I actually noticed that Viking Line was already talking about the electricity as their future plans. So even though you might have thought that I thought something about, it's not going to happen, but it's already in the agenda, at least thoughts over there. And I must personally admit that this is very, very new to the shipping business. I've been in the shipping business in Finland 25 years ago, and it wasn't like that people are coming out with their thoughts. They kept them themselves. But now everybody is so confused and so much, waiting for the future that we are not anymore thinking that we know the answer. Nobody knows, but we have to continue discussing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ulla, for sharing the presentation and views in the logistics in Finland and in Estonia and also widely. As I'm watching the time, we will have time for a brief question from the audience. And from the stream, understood that there is no question at the moment, so now is your time to ask the question from the regarding the three speakers. Or you can point also especially one. So there's Tomi.
So I would like to ask from Tomi Solakivi, so how do you see the future, so after this new normal? So how long, if we in a way exclude Russia, so how long does it take to in a way get the next 20 years in place? So, or is there 20 years or whatever years?
There's Tomi.
That was kind of a big question. How do I see the future? Well, if I would know, I would be currently in Bahamas enjoying my wealth, because I would be the one first to know. Let's say the supply chains are, at the end, they are rather quick to adjust when needed. The challenge is that the themes I talked about are not the only challenges. So we have the COVID crisis still sort of confusing things. We have the war situation confusing things, but we also have, as Ulla mentioned, we have the greening of the entire society and especially the supply chain. So in a sense, I would see that we are not going to go into a, let's say, a new normal in a sense that it would be a stable normal, but we are in the midst of a continuous change, which then is a good connection to the theme of today and to the organization of this day, that instead of talking about when we are in a new normal, we should be talking about how are we going to cope with this, let's say, very difficult situation that we will have for the next 20 years or so.
Okay, second question, second and last.
Thank you, Vesa Marttinen from Jeps. And I have a question to Niko here from SSAB about the business case you have. Roughly the magnitude, what has been the increased revenue and the cutting of the operational expenditures compared to the investment you have made to the track and trace?
I'm not able to go into specifics of the numbers, but I can say that the monetary measurable benefits are coming from mainly closing obsolete old systems and benefits in terms of supply chain efficiency, detention fees, less claims from customers and things like that. Not actually at all like extra revenue, so that's not what we're getting. We have a fairly good payback time, but I'm a little bit uncomfortable to disclose any figures at this place.
Okay, thank you very much. And yes, like mentioned, let's also continue the active discussion in the coffee break. But we are continuing the journey now to the second part of this seminar, and now we will have the authorities' view on the topic. So without further ado, our first speaker will be Ms. Maria Rautavirta from the Ministry of Transport and Communication. She's working as a director at the data business unit, and her everyday work in the ministry focuses widely on data and digitalization issues and logistics as an important part. And she's also coordinating National Logistics Digitalization Forum in the ministry, and also she's my boss, and she really knows the things as she's also the engineer in the ministry. So, floor is yours.
Thank you, Noora. Okay. Yes. So my topic was to talk a little bit about how logistics is an opportunity for billions, and this could be looked from multiple angles. My kind of a job is to see that what we are doing in the Baltic, Nordic, Finnish corridors is compliant with what we are aiming towards at the EU level and in the policies, for instance, in the data business. So my viewpoint is a little broader than the previous speakers. But why it is a question of billions is, of course, that in Finland, logistics costs are 12% of our GDP, compared to, for instance, for the energy costs that are now roughly below 10%, and before the crisis they were even lower, I would say that the public discussion around logistics is rather vague, so we don't see logistics as our key. Okay, now I kicked something. Yeah, so we are not maybe focusing enough efforts to think what is the kind of the meaning of logistics and efficiency of our ecosystems in producing the next generation services to kind of give indirect impetus to all of the society. So also if we think, okay, sorry. So if you think about, for instance, the real-time economy, it affects every, oh, sorry, yes, now I'm away from the microphone. Okay. Yeah, in addition to logistics, I would say that economics and finance is influenced by every economic operator in Finland. So for the real-time economy has been in our precise concern, because there the savings are also maybe billions rather than millions, and that is how we see the meaning of this field of industry to the whole of Finland. Digitalization of logistics is also part of our national digital compass, so it's a part of those key elements that we consider important taking to the next level towards the 2030 society that is digital and green. So the digital leap includes the digitalization of logistics. You can go and check the compass. It's found online both in Finnish and English, but the idea is that the core objectives are shared between all the ministries so that we can also coordinate our measures, because we have the Ministry of Labour and Economy and the Ministry of Finance doing their part and share also in the topic of logistics, but also in the wider and broader context of digitalization and data economics. And you might also have kind of come across to the idea that we have to incorporate cybersecurity and the network thinking to all we are doing also in data economy, because we see that the next generation internet will be supplied with high-speed connectivity, IoT, AI, provided through the cloud, connected to everything, and then we need to be sure that this new kind of logic in how we do, that is kind of that we make the logic that we are now implementing in one factory or one setting, we spread it to the whole of society. So everything will be connected, and we will start optimizing the whole transport system, but also the whole business of Finland. So it's not about factory optimization, but the complete economy optimization. And now we have the technologies to do that, but it of course raises new concerns where we have to be all the time ahead of the risks. You might be very familiar with our government program of digitalization of logistics, and we are very happy that during the past years we have been really proceeding with the actions. It has taken a little more time than we anticipated. With little less money you get a little less results, but hopefully we now have kind of the end open, so that investing in data and digital capabilities has now raised the concerns of the government, and we are very happy of this new ministerial group that discusses also the investment needs in digitalization. And of course the data is important in this context, because we see that the data is if we make data flowing freely, we can build more agile toolbox through technologies, but also through operators, so we get more competition if we share data. And competition drives innovation, and that drives, again, the competitiveness and efficiency. So opening the kind of the locks of the current maybe two centralized systems, we are hoping to gain more flexibility and fluctuation to the market. And this is maybe one of the key messages for the whole of Finland when we are trying to influence the next Commission as well, that European resilience and growth will be built on functioning market, open data, and unbundling the lock-ins in different digital spheres. And I'm happy that we have also proceeded with the partnership with the Estonian partners, and now we have heard that we are proceeding also with our projects. Maybe we hear a little more about those today, so not going too detailed, but also the regulation is now in the implementation phase, and we also hope partnering on that as well. And we are very happy that we have some case studies that now start showing what we can achieve with all this work we have been doing maybe under surface for the commoners or the common audience, but there's now something to watch and see. Yes, and we met Commission on Monday, and I promised that Finland will take lead with partnering countries in developing to the EU data structures that are compliant with the European data strategy and the data spaces thinking. So we are putting you a project funding request on the CEF, and I didn't know at that time that we were actually quite close to leaving the application in. So now we have also said to the Commission that wait, we are coming with a good proposal, give us the money. Hopefully it had some influence. Of course they don't make the decisions, but showing that we really look at the big picture, and the kind of the logistics sector at the same time must have an added value when thinking about the projects. And this is our thinking, that whatever we do on the horizontal layer, what is bundling together the energy sector, the logistics, the land use and so forth, is also functioning on the vertical sectors, logistics, transport, and beyond. So there is multiple use cases also in the transport sector where we want to be interoperable and compliant to the same rules and principles. And you can study more on the European data spaces. I'm happy we have many active partners in multiple fields. And I would say that even all of these sectoral data spaces, they are Finnish doers, but also the kind of the blue locker is something where Finland and Estonia must have something to give for the whole of the Europe. So giving these new tools for the next generation is a good place to start partnering. And as I mentioned that we are influencing on the Commission following agenda, we are of course also influencing the national next governmental terms agenda. International connectivity is one of our key concerns, and digitalization of logistics is of course one means to achieve that goal, and we are providing good ideas from our staff to the government discussions later this spring. And that was my perspective from my kind of level seeing things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria, for sharing the wider view and what is needed for the digital leap, and get food for thoughts for the collaboration also in terms of the data spaces. So also for the next speakers, no worries, even though we are a little bit late on the time, we will have a little bit shorter coffee break, but still we have time for the coffee as well. So you can keep the presentation as planned. So next speaker will be Ms. Eva Killar, and Eva is working as an executive officer at Transport Development Issues and in the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications in Estonia. Eva is always forward-looking person and active to enable new collaboration. So Phil, come to the stage, Eva.
Hello, thank you, Noora, for a great introduction. I'm really happy and pleased to be here in front of you. I was quite surprised. I have so many familiar faces already, so I must be in business for more than 2 years now. So I will not add anything from introduction myself because Noora did very well regarding this. But before I just start my presentation, I need to share the good news from yesterday, where we submitted a CEF application that Maria also briefly touched. I don't have this in my presentation because it was, of course, in the last minute, in the last day of submitting the deadline, but we managed to do it 4 hours before deadline. We have a great project coming, hopefully with the CEF funding. We have 9 partners from all over the Europe, from Estonia, of course, and Finland. We have Lithuania, Germany, Austria, Italy, France, Belgium, and Portugal. And observers are from Latvia, Spain, Holland, and Ireland. And so we will start deeply developing FD regulation in practice. So hopefully we get the funding, but even without it, we will do it, I'm sure. But now, with my presentation, I will talk to you today about real-time economy. And then, as a concept, then I will touch briefly the aid that we have been giving to the businesses to develop digital vehicle services. And then I have a little commercial also about the hackathon that we will have in March in Lithuania. But we'll start with a video. I hope it will start. It started before, so...
Bureaucracy and accounting require extensive time and resources. Data-based automatically shared reporting, administrative tasks and transactions help cut costs. Real-time economy like that reduces duplication, is evident in saving time and money, helps avoid mistakes as all parties have the same data that is safe and shared in real time, as well as adding transparency and trust. In order for a real-time economy to work, data needs to be exchanged in a standardized, machine-readable format in real time. The solutions need to be utilized extensively both nationally and internationally. Cross-border cooperation simplifies international information exchange between businesses and government institutions. Our Nordic-Baltic region is the world leader in this field. Real-time economy solutions eliminate time inefficiency and the business becomes more efficient. A growing proportion of administrative tasks become fully automatic, leaving more time to focus on operating the business or relaxing. For more information, please visit our webpage.
So this was briefly about what is a real-time economy. Sometimes I think that businesses think that the government is there to annoy them with the statistics and all these regulations, but actually the goal of real-time economy is to make life of businesses a little bit easier. The aim is to reduce corporate and governmental costs and increase business revenue. The buzzwords on real-time economy are interoperability, cross-border information exchange, and once-only principle. In order to real-time economy to function efficiently, it is necessary to understand its building blocks. The adoption of solutions which help us to access assess how successfully the transition of real-time economy has been. The core technological infrastructure of RTE is based on solutions such as common standards of data exchange, cross-organizational integration platforms, and unified taxonomy for reporting. These solutions could be, for example, automated accounting, e-invoices or e-receipts, e-addresses, e-signatures, and other e-based solutions to make businesses more easier to exchange information between each other and to communicate with the government. The three pillars of real-time economy are e-invoice, as I said, e-receipt, and also ECMR, which I will talk a bit more today, because as I mentioned before, we gave funding from Rehabilitation and Resilience Facility, RRF, for development of digital waybill services. We all know that FTA regulation puts obligation to governments to start to accept digital waybills since August 2025, but this obligation is not put in the businesses. But we are really hoping that when governments have made huge investments to the systems, then somebody will come with their documents in 2025. And in order to be sure that it is really happening, we have allocated 6 million euros from RRF, and this call has been divided into two separate calls. First call was to develop EFTI platforms, and we reached to this so that we started with a preliminary analysis. And as you know, the FTA regulation implementing acts and development acts are not there yet. So we are a bit ahead of time, and the Commission even said that please, can't you hold your horses a year? But we said that no, actually we can't do that because we want to be ready on time. So, but as we have quite good information from DTLF, so we hope that we are in the right track with it. And I'm really happy that we got 8 applications, and 6 got EFTI platforms are now developed. They will be ready in 2024. And then the second call will be for businesses to be connected to these EFTA platforms. So we really hope that in 2025 we will have somebody who will come to us and say, hey, customs, I have e-documents, please, can you check it out? And then we can. So, but I promised you a little bit of commercial. So if you are not signed up yet, please do so. We have had 2 pilot projects regarding ECMR already in Baltic states and Poland. Now we have also another project ongoing, INTTPL ECMR project that is funded from Northern Dimension Partnership on Transport and Logistics. And one objective of this project is also to have a DigiLogistics hack that we will have in Vilnius in March. We are hoping to get there many teams consisting 2 to 5 participants. The teams are expected to deliver minimum viable product, problem solution schemes, or description on a problem definition through the prism of interoperability. The challenges are ECMR and FT interoperability, digital solutions, cross-border customs digital solutions, and CO2 reduction calculation methodology. And if you don't have a team yet, please don't worry. You can just come there and find your team on site. And if you don't want to hack, you can sign up as a mentor for this hackathon also. And all this information is, you can find it from this link. And we really hope that there will be many participants and we can get new good solutions there. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva, very much for the presentation and the overview of the key actions boosting the step ahead on digitalization. And for sure, please contact Eva for further questions. So, third speaker in this authority track is Mr. Janne Lautanala, who is working in a state-owned company, Fintraffic. Janne is working there as a Chief Ecosystem and Technology Officer. Janne is a key person in Fintraffic, in Finnish transport and logistics ecosystem development, which is building the world-leading data ecosystem here in Finland in cooperation with the neighboring countries. So the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to be here, and it's great to see so many familiar faces here. As stated, I will talk my view and our view of the future of logistic data, and we think we should really act now. As said, I'm coming from Fintraffic. We are responsible of traffic management and control in Finland in all modes of traffic. But in addition, we are responsible of aggregating, managing, and delivering traffic-related data in Finland. And we are doing that in scale. So for example, DigiTraffic, our main open data platform, more than 4 billion API calls every single year. You might ask, hey, why are we taking so active role in this area? So basically, there are a number of reasons. So first of all, Fintraffic is a special assignment group, and we have given the task of take action in this role. So there are some legal implications. So we have given the task, for example, the national access point role in Finland, and we will be given the task of the national access point role for the FT. We are a neutral party, and there's benefit in having a neutral party taking this kind of role and provide, since we have the traffic management related data, we are in a position where we can leverage that data. According to our studies, there's a need for a party who will facilitate the collaboration in this area and data sharing. And of course, there's a need to accelerate data sharing, especially in the area of logistics. The world of traffic is changing quite a bit, and especially in the area of data sharing, data economy. And we have created a vision how we think the world would look like in a few years. And let's take some time to go through this video.
The year is 2030. Finland has the safest, smoothest, and most environmentally friendly traffic in the world. Cars are increasingly becoming self-driving, and more of them are running on electricity and other low-emission energy sources. Ships and trains are remote-controlled, drones deliver packages, and perhaps even carry people. E-biking is the new national pastime. This trend was fueled by everything being connected to everything. Here in Finland, we have something new, a real-time status of the entire transport system, a digital twin. This digital layer has formed a platform for the growth of entirely new services and businesses. It has created a unique transport ecosystem, a network of enterprises and experts with shared goals, working towards shared success. This is now Finland's new competitive advantage. All the parts of the transport system now exchange information with each other like we have never seen before. Operating capacity in the air, on the rails, on the roads, and at sea is now much more efficiently used, and maintenance costs have gone down. Smoothly running public transport with on-demand services has become a viable alternative to private cars. The delivery time for a product from the deepest central Finland to the world markets is shorter than ever, and Finland is well on the way to achieving zero emissions across the board in traffic. But the main thing is that there are now many fewer traffic accidents, yet people and goods still get to where they're going much faster than before. Finland now has the safest, smoothest, and most environmentally friendly traffic in the world because we lead the field in leveraging transport information. We have created a new expertise, a new export, and something we all Finns can be proud of.
Oops, back. So this is a vision, and what is needed to implement this vision? We actually recently executed a study together with more than 20 different logistic parties and trying to combine what are the concepts, what are the capabilities needed for implementing this kind of thing inside logistics. According to our study, there are a number of things, so all the way from the support in logistic design to traffic-related services and all the way to the transport layer. And there are areas where Fintraffic is today already very active. For example, providing the situation awareness data on all motor traffic in the kind of traffic stream layer. But there are additional services that the players seem to be wanting, either Fintraffic or other players providing. For example, providing infrastructure planning based on transport forecast, for example, combining transport to increase utilization, etc., as well as, for example, facilitating the collaboration between different parties in defining, for example, what are the conventions, what are the standards to be utilized, etc., etc. And we believe that together with the parties in the ecosystem, together with different countries, in collaborative manner, we can really achieve this. There are things that we believe that can be achieved already during this year and next year, and here are some examples. So we are, for example, starting together with parties to create an emission calculation reporting platform. We are starting a project together with Finavia and Finnair in defining Helsinki-Vantaa airport cargo data hub platform. We are working very actively in the European Maritime Single Window, the NEMO project, and we are working, for example, in implementing the FT platform in Finland. But in order to achieve all of this, we need your support. So the kind of call to action, please utilize already today our existing services and existing data. There are plenty of data available free of charge in our open platform, and please provide feedback on if there's something else needed, if it needs to be enriched or whatnot. Do bring us additional new use cases for potential co-development with different parties. So we are happy to kind of understand better your needs, your pain points, and help to solve those issues. Teemu Heikura, if you raise your hand, is one of your go-to guys. He's the appointed logistic manager currently at Fintraffic. And do participate actively in the different ecosystem forums, whether that's the traffic data ecosystem that Fintraffic is facilitating or other forums. Okay, what can we provide for you? So we have plenty of connections. We can facilitate the networking between different parties. We have the data services, and we can provide you with that. There's the industry expertise, especially in the area of traffic management control, so we can help you in that area. And in some cases, funding, whether that's coming from the EU level, whether that's something that we can help you to get from different sources, or even through Fintraffic. Thank you very much.
Thank you really much, Janne from Fintraffic for the presentation. Now we are ended the authority track, so if you have one question, now is your time. Please.
My comment for the last speaker is how are you working with the Gaia-X project in terms of the German-French initiative in terms of open data?
Yeah, well, Janne has been put in the responsible position, making sure that we are EU compliant, meaning that we also comply with the Gaia-X standardization and cooperation practices. And actually it is Janne that has also responsibility to follow all of the mobility data spaces generated within the EU data strategy. So we try to be kind of the model student, as we tend to do in Finland, and do everything that we can on our powers. Our national Sitra Gaia-X Finnish hub is the contacting point for all of the data spaces, and we have very many active partners in that. We also have multiple partners partnering in the projects, delivering data spaces in different domains, so that we have exchange of views also how we deliver, for instance, the Internet of Things on the industrial side, and then incorporate that findings also to the mobility side. I think there are many good linkages, so we try to keep everybody on board also on that regards, and we see it very valuable that the Data Spaces Support Center and the Gaia-X founding members are interlinked, so that we have the information. Even we are here in the Nordics and quite far from the Brussels, we still try to keep ourselves well informed.
Okay, thank you. So let's move forward for the industry outlook, so the track second. So this will be especially interesting track. We will have the concrete success stories, examples, how industry see the digitalization of logistics, perhaps what are the bottlenecks as well. So first we will have Mr. Karno Tenovuo, who is co-founder and CEO of Awake.ai. And Karno is a real expert when talking about the digitalization in maritime transport. And Karno and his teams knows quite much all the movements of each vessel at the sea. So please come to the floor. Stage is yours.
Yeah. All right, hello everybody. I'm Karno Tenovuo, CEO and co-founder of Awake.ai. I wanted to present from my own laptop because I wanted to show you some videos to make the presentation also more interesting. So I'm here to talk about a new innovation in logistics, which is not an easy topic, but I'll try to cover some areas. And why we are talking about this. Awake.ai is a company that is funded by Business Finland as one of the growth engine companies, disrupting an existing market or creating new markets. And we've been also recognized by, for example, Frost & Sullivan and Ship Technologies and others on these awards. And our background is, most of us came from Rolls-Royce. We were there developing autonomous ships, and then we figured out that the smart vessel alone doesn't solve the world's challenges, and they will still come to port and wait like everybody else. And we didn't see anybody else solving that, so we said that, okay, we got to do it. And besides this, of course, I've been in this industry all my working career, and I've seen companies developing similar solutions in silos and innovating the same thing 1,000 times over. And I wanted to change that, so I said that let's have an ecosystem approach also here, that how to create this network effect and learning effect. So where you have existing good solutions that work, let's connect them together and only develop what is missing. And that's why, and that way we can get the industry actually working forward and not standing still as I think it has been. What I believe is the roadmap for the industry, how to become sustainable and intelligent. It happens in 4 phases. The first step is to create the collaboration and transparency, so bringing the actors, the data together. Then you can start to optimize the operations and offer new digital services. Then on the third phase, you can start to automate some of these processes, and finally, some of these processes will be autonomous, so they operate without people in the loop. So in 2019, we created also what we call Smart Port as a Service, web and mobile application. The idea is every time a vessel is approaching the port, a communication channel is automatically triggered. You have bots generating messages when certain geofences are crossed, and you can talk to the logistic actors publicly or privately. It's still in Google Play and App Store, totally free of charge. Then in 2020, we launched the Smart Logistics Data Platform. So we are a certified AWS partner globally, and we wanted to develop a data platform that could scale easily anywhere in the world in a matter of days or weeks. And the first kind of SaaS service that we then created on top of the platform is this vessel arrival time predictions and ship events that Fintraffic is hosting for all the actors in Finland. And we, of course, made this available globally as well. Now we have also expanded that to cover not just the arrival times, but departure times, which is important. So here you see an example of type of features that are important for predicting departure times. Then, if you combine those two, you combine the arrival time and departure time predictions, you are able to create what we call multi-hub voyage predictions. So this is especially important for short sea shipping that traditionally has only seen the current or next port call. And now we are able to predict multiple port visits forward, what are the arrival times and departure times with very good accuracy. So how to really disrupt the way short sea shipping is performing. And then 2021, we launched an AI-based planning solution with Port of Gothenburg, which is the biggest port in the Nordics. And here, the AI is generating the port call plans automatically, and it warns actors if there are overlapping plans or changes. And it's the way how the port communities actually can share with all the parties in real time if there are changes or when there are changes. And of course, this can be integrated now seamlessly into the national single windows. And why we are creating these solutions? The purpose is actually to create analytics-assisted operations. So when we talk about AI in this context, it's not artificial intelligence, it's augmented intelligence. It is decision support for the actors. So we link to any data source that there is, whether it's AIS, terminal operating systems, national single windows, and then we can use those data points to create the predictions, whether it's arrival time, departure times, whatever. Then we feed those predictions to the planning solution, and then they can be fed back to the original system as recommendations. And this is a continuous feedback loop that is important to create in the industry. Then in Hamburg, we took that a bit further, so we created an automated schedule estimation service. So we analyze all the arriving vessels, departing vessels, berth occupancies, and tidal windows, And then the AI is actually giving out the recommended time of arrivals and departures automatically for all parties in real time. So we move beyond just predicting the arrival time and departure time. We actually move to recommending when that should happen for all parties. Because the traffic managers said that there are too many variables that continuously keep changing, so it's a perfect case for an AI. Then we've been working also on the land side more, so these kind of port yard monitoring and tracking solutions. So if you have cars, trucks, trains, trailers, bulk goods, containers, anything really, and you want to know when they have entered an area, moved or exited an area, or what's the real-time count for example, containers or boxes in a stack, it's a perfect case for deep convolutional neural networks and computer vision solutions. Then you can, of course, combine all these and you can visualize whatever you want, whether it's you want to have a 3D view of an area or terminal, show what is the cargo throughput through any given area, what's the status of loading or unloading, or where are my dangerous goods at any time. And you can use the analytics in the background. Last year, we also created the world's first remote piloting solution here in Finland. So it was a Business Finland funded project where we focused our efforts on simulating the fairway safety margins. So no longer the fairways themselves need to be static, but they can also dynamically change according to environmental condition and congestion. So this way you reduce the need for sending pilots, especially if there's a storm or long distances. Then in Valencia and Livorno, we've been working on the landside predictions. So here on the top right, you see the vessels coming into the ports, and we know the cargo exchange amount. Then we can predict the port arrival times, discharge times from the vessel, and even exit times by truck or train. Then on the bottom left, we simulate the cargo flow and congestion up to 4 weeks forward. And then on the bottom right, we can give the just-in-time arrivals also for the truck and rail operators on an hourly basis. So this will limit the congestion on the land side. Then in Rotterdam and Antwerp, we've been working on digital twins for smart shipping and especially autonomous shipping. In Rotterdam, it's the ocean-going vessels, and in Antwerp, it's the inland vessels. So the purpose is actually to create an autonomous vessel port call management system that enables these type of vessels to come to port when there is nobody on board. So how do you deal with all the processes that are meant for people communicating with people today? And we need to create these machine-to-machine processes and protocols. And now we have actually won an EU project to continue this with them. So my final example is a marketplace that we have just launched, and let's see, maybe there is no sound here, but we launched now a marketplace that we actually European Space Agency has been funding so far in this development, and now we won a big EU project, Horizon project, together with VTT. That starts before summer this year to take this into multimodal. And the whole idea is how to automate the buying and selling of port services and products. So when from our prediction service we know what's going to happen where and when, we can feed that directly to the planning system, and then we can automate all that buying and selling, reporting, invoicing, everything connect to that. So this is something that Fintraffic is also leading here in Finland as the pilot customer. So why these marketplaces are important? Of course, we want to help all the logistic actors grow their revenue base, help in transparency, expand, and keep your current customers happy. as every marketplace should. And we do this by actually, the AI can create these port call purchases automatically, and you can do this on the seaside or land side. So we have many use cases we're solving. And we're not doing this alone, so we have already many confirmed development partners in this. So if you're interested to be part of it, please join this group. So we have port authorities, operators, buyers and sellers of services and products. Why this is important now is that this marketplace can be considered as the main value-added service that needs to be linked to national single windows so that you can accelerate the development of these national single windows and the adoption of those. So please go to Awake.ai/marketplace and if you want to be part of this innovation journey. This is my summary slide, so I showed some examples of areas of application of AI in logistics, and I didn't cover all the topics. I don't know everything about all the other topics, but if you're interested in any of them, let's have a talk later. Thank you very much.
Thank you really much, Karno, for this interesting presentation and the concrete examples how AI is enhancing the operations in ports. Please contact also Karno if you want to hear more. So, next speaker, and last before the coffee break, but not least, will be from Mr. Riku Huhta, who is a project manager in the field of strategic transport systems at Destia. He's a younger generation specialist who has been writing strategic reports also for the Finnish National Emergency Supply Agency. So, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Noora. So please bear with me. The last show before coffee, so please stay awake, pun intended. But yeah, all right. So my name is Riku Huhta, and I'll be talking today a bit about changes in critical transport flows from Finland to Finland and in Finland. Here we conducted a study for the Finnish National Emergency Supply Agency regarding this, and they were really interested to hear that how have the recent events affected the Finnish transport system and the logistics and the transport flows in general. And we did a large survey here. We contacted many. Don't touch the table. Don't touch the table.
It's critical and almost resilient.
Yeah, great. All right. So, yeah, we studied that how have these 4 events I've conducted there affected our industries and commerce, and how do they see that these events have affected the supply chains and further transport chains and logistics, and then how has this affected our corridors and main hubs in Finland? That's the key point here. So before going into details, I'll show a few big picture topics that came up during the project. First one is, of course, that the Russian trade is mostly coming to an end, and this means that it has risen to discussion the dependence of authoritarian states, for example, Russia, and now later on China, and that's a big thing that's actively being discussed in our politics nowadays. And also, some further separation in key trade blocks can be seen. And also, as Tomi mentioned, and Ulla mentioned also, that the container flows to St. Petersburg's ports have been quite vast. So now that they're not there anymore, the attractiveness of Finland as a peripheral market has taken a slight hit, but luckily the NATO card has improved that substantially. And also, as mentioned, global supply chains have slowed down, and a few notes that our dependence on sea transport has increased, so maritime is even more important now than in the past. And our position as an aviation hub has slightly changed also, but more on that later. So, but when we talk about critical flows, we have to understand what are the critical raw materials and products, and these are just few examples we studied. So some inputs, some outputs in each different industry, and I'll just highlight a few. For example, fertilizers, medicine are really key outputs of a chemical industry, quite big in Finland. Also, for example, forest industry needs timber in their processes, and for example, it was 14% of Finnish forest industry's timber came from Russia. So now it's coming from other places and in Finland and from Finland. And also the oil industry, for example, no more crude oil from Russia. So some highlights. I mentioned there are 4 different events we studied. First, the COVID-19 hit in 2020. It's still ongoing. But as Tomi mentioned earlier, supply chains changed quite dramatically. Container prices increased, and this, of course, was good for the international freight train transport between Finland and Asia, and it got a boost during this period. Also, aviation took a heavy shock when the passenger planes were grounded, so most of the belly freight capacity was not in use. But of course, that improved quite fast. And driver shortage got slightly worse in road transport, but of course it was an event before COVID also. Then Russia's invasion. Well, of course, rail and road transport took a heavy hit. Russia's overflight ban has been a big thing for Finnair. Shipping companies have been avoiding Saimaa Canal. It's open currently, but it's not being used in export and import volumes. And also transport costs have risen, and we have seen this in all transport sectors. And also we can see that maritime transport is being increasingly important for Finland. It was 85% of all volume in export and import in Finland before the crisis, and now it's most likely even more. Then fossil-free transport in green transition. Of course, that's a big thing for industries. It's a fast transition, and it will be, in some cases, quite costly, but there's lots of opportunities to have here. And for example, in northern Finland, northern Sweden, there's over 100 billion euro investments coming into these new green investments. So that's an opportunity also, and those will increase transport flows in the northern regions, for example. And also we can see in the future that Western connections will be getting more important for Finland, of course. We don't know how long the Russian situation will stand, but we can be certain that it's not a short-term thing either. So that's a big topic to see. And Europe's pursuit of self-sufficiency is one thing that's quite good actually for Finland, because we have many, for example, energy investments already being conducted here. But then to transport modes, rail transport. I think it was one of the biggest hit tookers here when Russia attacked Ukraine. So many flows changed. So for example, you can here see the map is a bit dark there, but many red flows stopped from east. For example, timber, ammonia, iron pellets, for example, and those have already found new routes by using, for example, maritime transport. And many flows also have increased, for example, wood products, timber, ammonia, certain rail sections. And I've highlighted on yellow some uncertain ones, nickel and chemicals, fertilizers, but if you have read the new news that Nordic Logistics has bought Operail, for example, and will be carrying on with these flows, I believe. And big thing for Finland in the near future is to discuss what is the topic of European rail gauge, because we have a different gauge with the rest of Europe. For example, Sweden has the different one, and the big question is that do we want to have a similar one in the future? And so that's actively being discussed also. Well, road transport, it has been relatively stable. Of course, there have been price increases also. challenges in availability of trucks. If you order a truck now, it might take up to 2 years to be delivered. So typical component-related problems here also. And the deterioration of the road of network has been in recent years in a hot topic. And as we can see in January now, when we have plus decrease here, the roads are deteriorating even faster, and that's a thing for Finland also. Maritime transport. On the map you can see Finnish maritime transport in 2018. There are some main routes, for example, the Helsinki-Tallinn area, and also main export and import hubs. And as you can see, that Primorsk and Ust-Luga are really big ones because of the crude oil, but nowadays the flows have changed towards west. And I think it's a good thing that Finland's extensive port network has shown its resilience. So if certain ports change, the volumes change, other ports can take the load and so on. So that's a good thing for our security of supply. But on the whole, our reliance on maritime has increased further during these crises. And a few highlights from ports. This is not an extensive list, but on the western ports we can see that many dry bulk flows have increased there because many came from Russia, and now they're coming with sea transport to these ports. And on the eastern side, we can see the inland waterway ports are not being used that much because there's not many export and import volumes there. And because of the inland water transport has changed, it has gone to Hamina-Kotka most likely, most volumes there, so many timber products and ETC are going there. And Hamina-Kotka is also a big hub for timber coming from Baltic countries. Air cargo, few highlights. It took two hits, kind of like, because first one was the pandemic. Many flights grounded, nearly 75% of Finnish air cargo is belly freight. And then came the Russia's overflight ban, as you can see on the map. So the blue one was the previous route, quite straightforward. You could fly back and forth in a day, but nowadays you have to go around. And this has of course affected Finnair's Asia strategy, and they have adopted a more decentralized mode, and of course this has been somewhat difficult. But many changes there, and I'll show you just one data from here, that how has it changed, because Finnish air cargo, you can see Finnair air cargo data from 19 to 22 from January to June, comparable. You can see the changes that Asian tons are still half what they used to be in 19, now when we're looking 22, but the North Atlantic tons have quadrupled, so that's quite big change there. So the Western connections are getting stronger, but that's of course, and it has already changed a bit more as of today. But to summarize, I think our logistics system is really resilient, and it has took the shocks of the operating environment well, or the Brits should say bloody well, but resilience is a good level, but we must prepare for the future by developing these Western connections, as I mentioned, and also to understand and recognize the vulnerability of the Baltic Sea. And I'll end my presentation with this excerpt from an interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Riku. Now, before the coffee break, do you have a question for Riku and Karno? Now is your time. Then I'm letting you to the coffee break. Yes, Marko?
Yes, one question for Karno. What kind of product or services are for sale or for bought on that marketplace?
Thank you. We aim to have all kinds of products
and services in the marketplace. We will start with the ones that we are most familiar with, so towage, pilotage, waste management, electricity, these type of services and products that you need every time that the vessel is approaching. That's where we start, and then we'll expand to other things.
Right. Thank you. So now I'm letting you go. So we will have 25 minutes, so until 2:30. So as the original plan here. So also who came remotely, take a coffee, stretch your legs, and talk with somebody you haven't met before. So welcome back all here at Botta, but also remotely, who are coming from the stream. We will continue with the program. So the industry outlook will continue here. So next speaker will be Mr. Andres Uusoja, who is working as a senior business leader at HHLA. He is really interesting speaker. He's knowing what kind of freight there is moving in the North Sea Baltic corridor. In addition, Andres is an ironclad businessman who has capability to convince everybody with his excellent speaking skills. This came from Lasse. So, floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Andres. I will speak very loudly that the people who are drinking coffee will come also into this room right now. Doors will be closed and then you will miss the whole section of info. Yes, I'm Andres from, the company name is Hala TK Estonia, and I will talk a little bit about what we all have been talking. So all the other performance have been intro for me, especially you, Ulla, thank you. So, gateway, sustainable way to Europe with rail is only possible for Finland, only via Estonia. All the other solutions are also possible, but we are the best regarding time efficiency and sustainable solution. I will also a little bit very shortly mention, this is by the way our terminal. Small update, you see we are the only multimodal terminal in Estonia. We have Ro-Ro connection with Muuga and Vuosaari, so this was missing on Ulla's information because there's a lot of traffic between Paldiski and Hanko, Tallinn and Helsinki, and Muuga and Vuosaari. Little bit, you know all Hamburg. We belong to biggest Hamburg container operator, Hala, Hamburg and Hafen und Logistics AG. This is the first time I said it in one of the conferences, right time. So their experience comes from container. They do intermodal. They are the biggest intermodal provider in Europe, called Metrans, who is container railway operator. Logistics. Now I help to open office in Kazakhstan. I have received already 3 interesting inquiries between Kazakhstan and Finland because Russia is out. We have a very, very, very experienced railway guy in Kazakhstan, and we are trying to move already first cargos via Estonia. So cargo is coming from Turku via Ro-Ro to our terminal in Muuga, in our warehouses, which we have 83,000 square meters, and then we load it to rail. But the loaded rail is a little bit issue. Somebody mentioned Operail, somebody mentioned Nurminen, so Operail is not doing anything Russia-related anymore via Estonia, but Kazakhstan is still open. So Kazakhstan is very big market for you also, because we see interest also coming from Kazakhstan to Finland, which is maybe a thing that a lot of Finnish people don't know. Yes, this is Hamburg, very big, la la la. This is Metrans network in Europe. They are dedicated delivering containers from Hamburg, Bremen, Rotterdam, Antwerp to mainly Eastern Europe, like Poland, Czech, Hungary, Austria. Hala is also very innovative. This is my favorite slide. Here, we have a special department developing drones for container handling and Hyperloop. I will not mention anything more because I'm a very innovative person myself, but I don't see so much ahead. Little bit comments about some of the digitalization project. Have you all seen Terminator movie? I will let that opening in there. So, we have terminals in Ukraine. You know what's happening there. Right now, last week, I was in Hamburg with my head office. I met Ukrainian people. They are very, very interested in developing rail connection to Finland because Finland is very, very important for Ukraine, especially for redeveloping or rebuilding Ukraine. So Finland will play a very important role in there. We have also now, from 2 years, we have a terminal in Trieste. Again, coming from Adriatic, Finnish market is very important, import-export to Adriatic. And I'm making this intro all to this. You see, this is our HALA offices network. And we also have a Georgia, Azerbaijan, except Kazakhstan. You all have been in Estonia, right? Nice. So we have been from 96. Also, our main business is container, but we are really developing now the Ro-Ro section and the Amber train. Many of you people have heard me saying this, but I tried to translate Amber to Finnish language, and the only thing came out is Keltainen. Sorry, so you don't have a special word for Amber, which was the Baltic gold for hundreds of years, which was shipped even to Constantinople, now Istanbul. Kuinka? Meripihka. Okay, I will write to Google Translate because they didn't know. We have also general cargo terminal, and we do a little bit forwarding and container repair services. And as I told you, in the end of this year, we will have even 86,500 square meters of warehouses for bulk. We have a frozen warehouse for 13,000 tons. And Ro-Ro connection, twice a day. Tallink, unfortunately, is not going this year, but they will come back hopefully next year with the special vessels. We don't do the MyStars and Stars and Megastars. We have Finbok, Cargo, and Regal Star, which are a little bit older, but mostly focused on trucks. I know that the next performer after me is going to talk a very interesting project about train barges. So this is all connected. What I'm coming here. I made the CO2 calculation, so please do not make any photos, please do not distribute. I learned today morning this is totally wrong because I was too optimistic about CO2 and I did a lot of investigation in the market and there are so many different numbers. Ulrika, what I just told. There is so much information, but what I figured out maybe the trucks have gone more sustainable. The Euro 7 trucks are more sustainable than Euro 3. So Euro 3 trucks based in, please don't make photos. So Euro trucks, they are, some numbers say 150, 130 grams per ton kilometer. But this is 2022, and then now it says truck is 80. But what has remained is the relation between truck and rail and shipping. This relation has been pretty much the same, twice as sustainable is rail and Ro-Ro. Where I'm coming at, this is a magical map. You have all maybe heard Rail Baltica. Rail Baltica is now 2030 plus. Every year they are delaying it a little bit. But what I'm talking to you is about Amber train. Rail, Ro-Ro from Vuosaari, or even, doesn't matter, it can be also container ship from Kotka, Hamina to our terminal. We ship it to the rail, container or trailer. It will go to Kaunas because we have the same railway gauge as you, 1520. The white gauge, Russian gauge, so not okay for Europeans. But in Kaunas, Lithuania, they have both. So train goes there, we switch it to Europe, and if it's container, then our own sister company, Medtrans, was a very big sister company, they will come, pick the container, and deliver whatever you want. Trucks is a little bit A little bit complicated because trailers we can do right now to Kaunas, and Kaunas only next destination is Duisburg in Germany. But we are really working on Trieste because I know that a lot of trucking companies want to have connection to Adriatic. Adriatic is like the new paradise in the world because Egypt, Turkey, now everything combines in Trieste. So Amber train will be, we did the first train. Ulla showed the picture also of it, and we hope to do it this year. We have even, maybe I will not mention more, but I will say few Finnish forwarders with their own containers, with their own trailers are already showing interest, and maybe we will have a second test train already in second quarter of this year. So this is the same picture of the train, but made from other side. And this is the potential, okay, potential commodities. This is the biggest, this is your Finnish gold, what you're living of. I don't have the, let's say, ammonium and all that stuff, but it's pretty much related to chemical products. So Finnish export and Finnish import via European gateway in Muuga in Estonia and Tallinn. And thank you still Finnish people for keeping Estonia is very important. I didn't know that we were so important to you, because I'm always looking to Leonat and Tomi Mäkisen, all that, like your export, and we can give you back what is Ulrika going to tell you. So combined, it's an old saying that we are small brother of Finns. If you want to know, I have a very interesting theory that we come, I will not tell you here, I tried it once in sauna with 2 drunk Finns, it didn't end well. So, but if you're not drink and you're sober, you can approach me, I'll talk about this, how really connected we are. Thank you.
Thank you really much, Andres. This was really fresh also. So next we will hear a presentation on the multimodal transport from ship to train. So Mr. Hannu Hernesniemi is working as a consultant at Fennorail, and he has a long experience about emergency supply and critical infrastructure and freight flows. So floor is yours, Hannu.
Yes, thank you very much for opportunity to be here and tell about Fennorail. This photo was taken in Norcam, I think 10 years ago, so I'm a little bit older now. But when I worked last 8 years for Huoltovarmuuskeskus for the Emergency Supply Agency of Finland, we studied also which could be the right way for Nordic railroad to the Arctic Ocean. And I've got some ideas about it, but let's go further here. My title of the presentation tells the most important thing, that train ferry connects Finland efficiently and environmentally friendly to Europe. I have worked now 1.5 years for this project. I'm not the owner. Let's go. I'll tell a little bit about Fennorail. It's a, let's go back. Fennorail is a, now it goes. Can somebody help me to get to the right? Fennorail is a start-up company. It connects harbor professionals, maritime professionals from Estonia and Finland. And it is registered in Åland Island. So a couple of owners are coming from there. Those who are coming from Estonia, they are connecting to Paldiski northern port. So it's the train ferry harbor in Estonia. But as you already heard from the previous presentation, sea connection between our railroads and Baltic railroads and Eastern European railroads is a missing link, and it makes possible to reduce emissions quite a lot. We have used Fraunhofer Institute's and Ramboll's Institute's study for European Union, which says that the emission of railroads are 1/5 of the emission of truck companies. So it's, we have used that, and hopefully we can also make later a study about it. You also mentioned my previous presentator about Karno's international terminal, and it's really the terminal which can connect our railroads to the European railroads. What is strategic importance of the train ferry for Finland? I have listed here a couple of things. One is that it makes an efficient way to our very important market. Here I have got some trade figures. For example, the growth of our import and export with the Baltic countries, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Hungary. And you can see that it has grown quite trend-like. And if we look their share of our imports and exports, they are now around 10%. And I bet that these countries together will become, during this decade, more important than German market and Russia has dropped already, and Swedish market. Here is the share of our import of these countries. And here is a share of export of these countries. Add to this, as previous presenter said, there is already a connection to Duisburg in Germany. First along the Amber line, and then from Kaunas by Lithuanian railroad, cargo railroad. They have connected to Duisburg, sorry. I'm sorry because of my bad English. It's because of that I was born in Pohjanmaa, in Lappajärvi, and where the previous owners of this building was born also. And we used to study Swedish. Okay, Ulla Tapaninen has taken part to this kind of studies. Okay, let's see. Do I go too fast? Okay, I already said that reduction of emission, and I'm not going further except that we have made a couple of, or Ulla Tapaninen and her colleagues has made a couple of studies where the lorries are coming from Europe and where they are going in Finland and where are they coming from Finland and going to Europe. And here you can see those lorry numbers which goes to different countries. Now what we need is a new study about this, and I hope Ulla Tapaninen and Tallinn Technology University and Tampere University, for example, can together make this study again, and also make calculation about reduction of emission if we can get the train ferry connection. As we have already said that this Helsinki-Tallinn maritime way is the most active. It's more important for Finland than maritime ro-ro transportation between Finland and Germany, and it's more important than maritime transport between Sweden and Finland. Now I have Ulla Tapaninen has made a new calculation about how many lorries are going in a year over the Gulf of Finland, and I divided them by 365 in order to get the daily transportation. It's nearly 1,200 lorries which goes over from Tallinn to Helsinki and from Helsinki to Tallinn in a day. You know, what other important cargoes there could be? One is import of fuel food and import of raw wood needed by Finnish forest industry. As you can see, for example, fuel food was imported from Russia nearly 5 million cubic meters in year 2021. Last year's figures are coming in March, and I have discussed with have you passed my time already? I have discussed with Etla, where I used to work 25 years, that they are now focusing in their next forecast for the importance of the Eastern Europe and Baltics in our trade. And here is, as you can see, those nearly 10 million cubic meters. We have to replace them for the other wood import. And as you noticed that Kotka has made already a new record in the volumes, it's because of the import of wood. You know, this is also, train ferry is also a very important way to transport our heavy defense materials to Lithuania or from Lithuania up to Lapland. Hopefully we can get the membership of NATO. Okay, you will get this presentation, I suppose. So I'm not going very deeply for them, but this is the train ferry which is designed by Delta Marine, and it can carry, it can go daily if the Finnish side port will be Koverhar. It can go to Paldiski twice a day return journey. It can carry over 4 kilometers of wagons. So you will get those, but I would like to say for the people who are later sitting here that what are the development needs? The one is standardization of Finnish and Baltic railroad equipment so that traffic flows flexibly. Now, for example, Baltic locomotives cannot carry our wagons. And another lack is that, for example, those Russian-style wagons in Baltic countries, they are 85% are too short for carry semi-trailers. So it happens time to time that semi-trailers are falling down. So we need a common standardization. Okay, I will later speak about the rest of issues, but one is that we need a real type of freight station model, and we have to see what are the right towns and railway stations where we have got this kind of railway stations. Thanks. Sorry that I took over.
Thank you really much, and for the insights and opportunities to train ferry combination. So we will go forward with the program. So next we will have Mr. Tomi Dahlberg, who is a chairman of the board in DB Core, and he is one of the founders in CaaS Nordic Association and a man who knows how to combine digital economy to logistics even with the blockchains. So floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you. So I will talk about data wallets, fact wallets, or digital wallets as they are called. So the question obviously is, so what does it add to what we already have? So when we talk about the exchange of digital data, so machine-to-machine type of data, which we are aiming to exchange in the future. We are doing that to some extent already today. So what do data wallets add to that? Because they are in a way just an add-on type of service to in a way the digital exchange of data. So although I talk about in a way what we have, so I'm trying to make this in a way, I apologize for that. I'm doing this so that we can talk about the digital wallets, other digital wallets as well. So not just what we have, but in a way, and again, I don't bore you with this kind of data, because in a way we have all seen that, but we are still in this situation where the majority of the data that we exchange between organizations is manual, paper-based, or it's incompatible with what the other enterprises are able to send or receive. So as a company, we do three things. Here I'm focusing on this in a way trusted data sharing service to exchange data. Then that's called also, one side of that are the digital wallets. So if you want to look at some other in a way digital wallets, for example in Finland, so Findinet is another in a way very known provider of these wallets. But let's look at what it means. So how do we do it? So when I want to exchange data with another enterprise, I need to agree. So what is the data that we are sharing? What I'm exchanging? And it helps if we have agreed that this is, for example, this is an order, this is an invoice, this is a way bill. So that's how it goes. So today we are in a situation where in Finland, so over 80% of the electronic invoices are electronic. And that is in a way what's going to happen also to logistics. But then when we have these wallets, so it means that the wallets are installed into the premises, typically cloud premises of the enterprise who sends or receives the data. So it's there as a very simple client, so it can be automated so that in a way you click that from some kind of in a way Google Play or some other kind of, so that's where we're going. And the point in sharing data is that if I want to share data with somebody else, another company, whether it's a way bill or something else, so I can have multiple options. I'm not sure whether this, what I show here, is provided in all digital wallets, but in a way that at least what we have. So I can share the data with other wallets, for example, the Finninet wallet. But I can also exchange the data with some others who do not have these wallets. For example, in the Peppol network. I can use, in a way, other means of their proprietary systems that are able to, for example, we heard here about SSAB, so that could be also another option. And I can do that with Edifact messages as well, or if I know the email address, so I can send the data to that email address as well, as far as I know where I want to send the data, which I want to share. So how does it work? Let's look into the architecture of these wallets a bit. So this shows that in a way we can use this kind of wallets in multiple cloud environments. Here I have 4, so the most typical ones. So the Microsoft Azure, Amazon, then Google and IBM. But there could be also others. And these could also reside in local on-store, on-premise sites, which are not even cloud. What does it mean if we use that in a cloud environment? So then it means that the cloud service provider, one of these four or some others, so they rent the company space so that I can in a way share my data using that space. And so that's how it basically goes. What the use of the wallet then adds is that in a way a client is installed into that cloud environment. So basically it's very easy as said, so it can be as easy as in a way ordering a similar kind of application from a store. So this, we were presenting this kind of solution the previous time to logistics people in September last year in the Embassy of Estonia. At that time we were still developing this service, now it's up and running. So this shows an example of the kind of pilots that we had. So the case here is, I'm not sure, okay, perhaps it shows here. So if I would be a Danish exporter of foods, I could want to send the goods to Portugal, to a Portuguese harbor using an Estonian logistics service provider. So they are connected to this, in a way, network that we have here. Okay. So this network here. And that is connected also then to Peppol network. Why do I have Peppol here? Because it's the only current existing international network that is able to share data in 40 different countries. It's not ideal, it's not optimal, and hopefully we will have an FT network there. It could be still a Peppol network, but in a way if it's a different network, so then that's what we do. We have in Finland, we are doing the same in the construction industry with a service called Elvis, which is in a way where we share data between construction industry companies based on Edifact messages. So I talked about Peppol here already. To us, it doesn't matter whether the, in a way, data format is Peppol or Edifact or something else. FT is fine. If it's, we are part of actually quite many of these networks. So we are an open Peppol member. We are part of the OASIS UBL technical committee, which develops UBL, which is then being used to further develop Peppol messages. We also follow the work of the DTLF and the UN UNESE, so which they provide the data that is the basis for UBL standardization. So this is what we have in Peppol today, and what we are doing at the moment. So next time tomorrow, we have a meeting with the State Treasury of Finland, and we are talking about a construction industry POC, where we will, in a way, use these documents based on Peppol, including the dispatch advice, which is the logistics. And in addition to this, so there's the Peppol, Open Peppol network announced recently that they will start a Peppol logistics project. And the project manager of that project, a Norwegian guy named Are Berg, will be in Finland on the last day of this month. Actually not physically, but in a way remotely. And he will present the Peppol logistics project, which will include close to a dozen new documents that will be added to the family of Peppol documents that are already up and running. So to conclude, so why is this important to Finland? So we have already heard so many good presentations about, in a way, the significance for Finnish GDP. So I don't want to repeat that, but in a way, I think that's the main motive. But there are also other reasons why this is in a way important to us. So Eva Killar talked about the real-time economy program in Estonia. We have a similar program in Finland as well, and the Ministry of Transport and Telecommunication have their FT project. So there are a lot of projects that so I have mentioned these two here, which I think are important for this what I have for the digital wallets. So if I was able to catch a few minutes, so I'm happy with that. So if you want to talk more with me, so okay, sorry. So here are the contact information.
Thank you very much, Tomi, for a good presentation and sharing us a picture how data sharing is bringing value and what's the role of people. So, next speaker is Ms. Ulrika Hurt, who is an active partner in Digital Logistics Center and European Commission and DG Move expert. And she's a really person who know how EU sees and plans on digitalization and in the project's point of view as well. So, floor is yours, Ulrika.
Thank you. Just forward, not backwards. The clicker only goes forwards, never backwards. I know. It is forward, and only when we need to go a little bit backwards, when we have reached a place where there's no good way forward, then we come a little bit backwards and then strongly forward. So this clicker shows that very much. Good afternoon, everyone. And it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting. It's been a great day of insights. And I see that Finland and Estonia again have proven that we are together on this journey, and we will have all these bits that need digitalization to foster, we are able to connect them. I myself have for now worked nearly 10 years in logistics domain, trying to sort out the different connections between the economic affairs, the business operations, the IT, as well as policy, and reached to the point where we have established a business, established a network, established a platform, and have onboarded European partners to engaging into building a regulation, the FT regulation. We have been engaging the partners into a project, and we have been engaging national and international regional stakeholders into trying to figure out how to get digitalization in a situation where solutions are not to be taken from anywhere, they have to be invented, and transition is probably ahead of us still, and we would not know exactly which technologies we'll be using in 10 or 15 years, but we try to do something with the digitalization of transport domain today for tomorrow, and tomorrow also start thinking and start doing the long-term technological solutions. Yeah, the forward. No, it doesn't go forward at all. Come on, give it to me. I'll go override. That's okay. I'll take this from here. And indeed, I have been both working in the academia and also now consulting the European Commission as well as in the business. So I will show you what is the European approach now for how transport digitalization will look like. And first of all, we are in the midst of getting the final regulations, the implementing and delegated acts we get in upcoming month. So we get the draft soon enough. We are aware of what the content is, and the content has been agreed, but the written text is just to be published. And in February and March 2023, August and September 2023, in February 2024, we should be getting all the written guidelines as much as we could get for the joint work. 21st of August 2025, it should be possible, and it has to be because it's the deadline, to go paperless in all transport modes in Europe if you wish. The administrations have to be ready, and the platforms that should be providing the EFTI data should be ready as well, as many as we will be having emerging. I count on a few. So if those few are available, the economic operators can start using them, and the competent authorities can fetch data from these platforms. How that will look like, it's a layered approach. So we have a lot of flexibility in business-to-business data exchange, but we will have rather organized structure how the competent authorities will ask information from the FT platforms, as well as how these competent authorities can get access to FT platforms in other member states without actually having a direct access to them, meaning there is going to be, and that is suggested, the network of access points or network of FT gates, which in another visual looks like there will be 27, maybe plus minus more or less. Here on the picture we have only 4, but it's an illustration. And all the national and international other structures of data exchange between businesses can use any data structure, and in the European gateways we will be having a decision made how these access points or those FT gates will be communicating with each other, and these rules come out in a month. There's going to be a little bit of negotiation or adaptation time, but we are very close to knowing exactly the guidelines. It has been the major worry of everyone whether this document will happen, so everyone has been hindering their developments, and I think it has also been wise not to develop towards the wrong direction, but we'll at least know. And the architecture we have worked with, this is how the architecture looks like in the European Commission documentation. It's the last draft, don't take this for granted, it's a bit edited as well. Also, this will be public. So it's the network of national or however organized private, combined, public, private-owned FT gates that speak to each other, that organize the communication between the competent authorities of any of EU member state to get information from any FT platform, any ECMR platform, any platform in any European Union country. For the regulation and for the implementing and delegated act rules, it comes out next month. But we have been there for 4 years already in the Nordic Baltic region. We have had the DigiLog project, the title of what I was invited to explain to you what that is. DigiLog is the launch of wider than only transport domain. It also included other topics in the Nordic Baltic region. It evolved and had incorporated a DigiLog proto project in which we actually developed a solution for practicing the network of FT gates way before they were called FT gates and way before they were called access points and way before the European Commission realized that the network of access points is actually the solution to all this FT exchange. We evolved this within the next project, DigiLog, and we are currently evolving the same concept and the prototype and the pilot and the solution within the Nordic Baltic Polish ECMR project that is being funded by NDPTL this year. And it looks very similar to the other architecture. It's our legendary drawing that everyone knows. If you see that, this is the Baltic Nordic approach. We are year by year improving it and specializing it and adding pieces. And we are currently in the midst of version 3. in setting up this, this prototype additional features. There is going to be the evolution of it in April, May this year, alongside with testing with companies, both in software and both in business operations, taking place April, May, June. The project finishes in June, and we are doing this also in support or in enlarging also the approach of the Nordic-Baltic cooperation within it. So we're not just doing the testing, but we're building a bigger structure that helps us coordinate the whole understanding and also the information dissemination. And we have, like has been referenced a few more times, as of yesterday, and this is really fresh, with colleagues in the middle, you actually should see Lasse and Matti. And you see our colleagues from Europe that we submitted the application for CEF, nearly 28 million with 9 member states as full partners, Finland included, Estonia leading, Italy, France, Germany, Portugal, and also Lithuania being partners, Belgium as well, and like Eva mentioned. And we will be going into merging the best practice and best learnings from the Nordic-Baltic into showcasing immediately when the regulation is out, that the implementing delegated acts are out, how to do that in cross-border. We'll pilot, and by 2025, these pilots and learnings will be live, and our region is the lead in conceptualizing and also understanding how that is being done. And we do that in the biggest partnership ever in Europe with the strongest. And thank you for the cooperation, Estonia, Finland, for allowing that happen. Thank you. And when you get the slides, there's also extra reading material. The academic part of me wouldn't allow me to go without it.
Thank you very much, Ulrika. Really interesting and also really exciting about also the FT4 EU. So things really starting also there. So we have reached the end of this industry outlook session. And at this point, I would like to remind to be active also in the social media. So please use the hashtag DigiLog 2023 to use it for tweets and LinkedIn, etc. At this point, do you have questions to Andres, Hannu, Tomi, Ulrika? Now is your time. Please be active. There's.
Yeah, I would like to question myself. Kiitos. Mulla on nyt kysymys, että anteeksi, mutta Pohjois-Baltiski ja Venäjä. Yeah, mutta se voi mennä hankalaksi.
Joo, me Fennorailissa niin ollaan tutkittu eri satamia ja Helsingin, in English, yes. We have studied different harbors on the Finnish side, and for example, Vuosaari, there is no room for marshalling yard. Then we studied Inkoo. It would have been good place, but lack of 5 kilometers of railroad is, and it connects to the Helsinki-Turku railway, which is so active with the passenger trains. Then we also studied Lappohja, but it's owned by the new owners, and there is that kind of sailing boats and others under remonts, and then Finnish Coastal Guard will have 3 vessels there. It's full. So Coverhar is most promising, but we haven't yet underwrite agreement with them, because I understand our aim is to sell the project and the company, or have a long-lasting leasing agreement. And that's also the, how to say, Hanko Port wants that arrangement. So we are a startup company, but if everything goes well, and we want that the owner of the train ferry will be the Finnish company. And we are discussing seriously now with the Finnish company. We also want that National Emergency Supply Agency will come a co-owner, that the train ferry will remain all the time under the Finnish flag.
Tomi?
So apologies, I saved a few minutes, perhaps I can now take them back. So I actually have more comment to what Ulrika said. So if we have this in a way, and this could also be part of the panel, so if, for example, in this Baltic-Finnish cooperation, so what can we achieve? So if we look into the history of electronic invoicing, which is the only, in a way, really widely used electronic document at the moment. So it's actually very much based on what was developed in Finland some 20 years ago, the four-corner model that is being applied in Finland in our domestic electronic invoicing, but it's also applied in PEPPOL. And now PEPPOL is spreading from 40 countries with the PEPPOL International to perhaps 60 to 70 or whatever number of the countries. If we here do something similar, so we could also, in addition to the four-corner model, so we could have a zero-corner model, which in a way, it's not technology, it's about in a way, direct connections between the parties that exchange the information. So if we get that up and running, so I'm sure that we can, in a way, really make the contribution not only to ourselves, but to the whole European Union and perhaps even globally.
Thank you, Tomi. Any other questions at this point? And from the streamlined version, do you know if there is questions, Alex or Lasse? No. No? At this point? Okay. So, if no further questions, we will move forward with the interesting part. So, next I will ask the panelists to come for the joint discussion. So my co-panelist will be Matti Lankinen from CaaS Nordic Veriaffi, then Niko Korte from SSAB will join, and then Toni Penttinen from Ahola Transport at Tracks, Anders Uusoja, HSLA, Sami Raksit from Finnish Customs, Eva Killar, Ministry of Economic Affairs in Estonia, Teemu Heikura, Fintraffic. I think I have all now, yes. So please come to the floor, take your seat here. And for the audience, I want to, you have an exercise, so all stand up and clap your hands.
Thank you for the spontaneous applause.
All right. Don't go away. Let's try to get a conversation going on. So we're not making presentations anymore. We want you guys to be active. But before we go there, maybe a couple more introductions. Well, most of you already have been introduced. So who's new here? We have not Hans Ahola actually, because he was not able to make, but Toni Penttinen from Ahola Transport. And Toni is the man, let's say, brains on the digitalization in Ahola Transport. And we have seen the results of that. Ahola Transport is one of the forerunners in road transport in Finland. I guess you are maybe almost too much ahead of the market.
Sometimes.
So maybe frustrating that you guys have it all and the rest around you doesn't have it. They will come, believe me. And then obviously we have the man of Finnish authorities, the man you see in the late news. Great smuggling happening somewhere. Who comes up? That would be Sami Raksit. He's a guy who has taken so many villains that you couldn't believe it. They have a lot of good stories in Finnish customs. I have visited them sometimes, but they are not public, unfortunately. Maybe you can talk to him later. Then we have Teemu Heikkura. Yeah? Remember this guy. He is going to make a big difference in the digital logistics in Finland in the coming years. He will be guilty, he will be the hero. Let's see what comes out. Basically, the man that will walk the talks we have had in this room with many authorities, but we need to make these things happen. And I have my trust on this guy, learned to know him in the past months, and has background in different modalities, railways, roads, and also in IT and system business. So good guy, talk to him. So here's our team of panelists. We already know that we have people of many words here. So let's start the round. Myself, yeah. I'm Matti Lankinen, I'm from CaaS Nordic, and I also have a business background. So that's why I'm around here, and been around in logistics with good colleagues. Would you like to start?
I can, and I will add about you that you are also one of the fathers of CaaS Nordic. So yes.
Sure.
So okay, let's start, and also to add, let's have a common discussion. So please feel free to ask. Lasse is there with the microphone, so please join to the discussions. But we can start with the warming up. So the first question for you all is that what are the key challenges and opportunities in digitalizing north-south supply chains? We have heard today multiple examples, case stories, but in your perspective.
Start from others, maybe? Key challenges in north-south.
Digitalization.
Yeah.
I'm a shipping guy. So for us, we are already. Nice. So we are already digitalized in our terminal, but the challenges, I think, is how to connect Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland. If you will do it, magic. You will have a statue in every Baltic country. But, we are very small neighbors. I think all Baltic countries together are a little bit less or pretty much the same as Finland. 5.7, 86, I don't know how is your population growing or decreasing, I'm not sure lately. But because, for example, Latvians, Lithuanians, they didn't know that Finland exists until a year and a half ago, because they all thought that cargo is controlled in Poland. And when they realized, it took me 3 years to tell them, no, business is 95% controlled in Finland, export and import by trucking business. So now they really understand. And, we are small, we have very big egos. Estonians think that we are Nordic, Nordic think that we are Baltic, so we are in between. But we are open for flexibility to connect. I'm not so sure that Latvian and Lithuanians are so open yet. So this will be the next challenge, I think, for the year or two to come, that we can, is it import or export? You did data entry in Finland, boom, and it ends up in Portugal. Doesn't matter, roll, vessel, so that's a challenge. And to connect, because countries have egos, but there's also railway companies inside these countries, and wow, that's a challenge. I think that VR and Suomen Rautatie is pretty much okay if you look what the challenges I had 3 years in Baltics. So this is the challenge, I think.
Okay, we can go in interns?
I would say that the main challenge on digitalization is to understand that we need to think that differently, that the way that everything is handled on paper doesn't have to be handled as a digitalized information. So it's very, very difficult to simplify. It's always easier to be as you have always been, or do as you have always done, and this is the main challenge to do things differently.
Wise words. Thank you. And Niko?
Same thing, connectivity, and more specifically for us, it will be, if we look now at the north-south direction, it would be how on earth we get the data properly harmonized, access to, when we go to multimodal, how do we get the data from hubs, freight forwarders, if we're going to have a 3-leg multimodal delivery from our plant in Finland or Sweden to, let's say, Italy. How are we sure that we have the end-to-end data to forecast when the material is going to arrive at the customer in Italy? And as said, we have, trained people, we have our own ways of counting data and defining data, we have the truck people, and then we have the ship people, and we have our own organizations. That is changing now, and I'm happy to see that there are new players in the market that want the collaboration and want to share the data, and I'm looking forward to that future.
All right, shortly, getting rid of the paperwork. We have too much papers at this moment in the Baltics area. And at this moment, it's like that everybody wants to stamp the papers, and electric format is not really what is wanted to be there. We have started this kind of electric weight bills 3 years ago in the domestic in the Finland, so it works in here, but it's of course still not working outside of Finland.
Yeah, have to agree all of those. So good points, collaboration, paperless work, and also I have to add that we have to do cooperation between projects, between government projects, example real-time economy, FT, and also with you parties, with you as transport company and also digital company, and you with customers. We have to take care of all parties on the logistics network.
Yeah, thank you. It was a discussion about papers. As a civil servant, I love papers. But if we are seeking for a flexible, cost-effective, secure supply chain, from our point of view, we need much more trust. We need to take care all of the links in the chain, supply chain, not only our own task over there. And we need to have a right data at the right time, at the right place. And because from our point of view, everything is about balancing between facilitation and security. And have to underline always that even though there is certain freedom in EU constitutional agreement, it's only for the legal traffic, not all. Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions from the audience at this point? Heiti?
Yeah, hello. Heiti from Digilogistika Keskus as well. One question, I don't know who from you can answer for that, but we have faced in our practice that one quite big challenge is also build up motivation of SMEs and small companies, small tracking companies who are in the Finland, for example, doesn't use also any papers. So they don't have anything. Yes, the issue is from the cargo sender or cargo orderer, but the transport company, they are just driving without any papers. Now they have to make the data from somewhere, using the waybills, pushing some buttons, or maybe you can see also jump over this issue, use 5G, put sensors everywhere and automate those process without any drivers.
So who would like to take?
The government wants to know these companies' names, I think.
Yeah. Anybody else like to address?
I can say that, of course, the easiest way would be to make it compulsory. But I don't believe in forcing, so I guess that the companies need to see the benefits from the digitalization. And the front runners who are willing to go digital, then they has to be, in my mind, the people and the companies who would be spreading the word and showing that, hey guys, this is really the thing that is beneficial for you. And by nudging like this, then maybe we will get it quicker. But of course, in the end, we will say just you have to go digital.
Maybe, Eva, a follow-up question to you. You are now the queen of FT for the coming years. When are we going to have FT really, let's say 2030, how much of FT is really in production? How much of the industry do you think is going to be actively using the process? Also, let's look at the enterprise side. I know the authorities need to have it 25, but we need to have a whole gang on it. What's your sort of take of it? What would you say? 2030, how many of us are really in production with that?
You mean 5 years after it is compulsory? Yeah. I could say that maybe 50%. I hope it's quite a high number, but I don't think that it would be higher. 50% would be quite good outcome, I guess.
Basically, the forerunners will get the benefit, but then it means that we have a lot of gap. As Heidi said, we need to get the SMEs really involved. So that's really a challenge for all of us. Lauri, please. We don't know everybody here.
Yes, Lauri Lusti also from Estonian Digital Logistics Center of Excellence, but I wanted to assist a little bit Eva in that question, that if we would like to achieve something, we cannot force, but we can ease the rules and we can change the logic. So if we would like to push somebody to use the new technologies, we should give some advantage. Because now when we are looking on all of the transport fields, train, maritime, especially road transport, they are highly over-regulated. And in the digital world, we don't need so much regulations anymore. So if we can ease something in these regulations, I think so that will be the way out to the digital world. Because nobody, when we are looking nowadays on the road transport regulations, nobody likes them. None the drivers, not the clients. So the thing is actually a little bit vice versa, not to push, but to assist, to take the new technologies.
Yeah, I think Karno has a question, but before Lasse gets there, a quick one for Niko. I was really thrilled about your presentation. You were talking about what you've been doing so far, but you also said that you are going to be focusing in your future on those fossil-free steel mills. That's all on the headlines of the news today. So it's really exciting for all of us. We need to look into the future, and it seems like this new type of opportunity is in that industry. So how would you describe, from the logistics point of view, the impacts of this fossil-free steel industry and whatever comes around it? Are we going to see the next new opportunity, and when is that going to be? And does it have an impact on our logistics?
It's very simple. There's no fossil-free value chain without fossil-free logistics. That's it.
So from that point of view...
and then that's actually a segue. I want to do a short comment on the previous question. So I firmly believe that if we want to do industrial digitalization, we do need to think about natural coalitions. What kind of industrial partners form natural coalitions? What are the business use cases that are in common interests of companies? Because B2B industry digitalization, we're not going to have Google or Amazon or Facebook as a big player, winner takes it all market. The logic is not there for that. We have to take, who we can collaborate with Ahola. And we do actually. And we have a natural reason to share data among each other. And then we have the facilitation and the common ways of describe the data, share data. And that's what at least I expect then from regulatory or from different NGOs that facilitate, give us that common kind of playbook and playground, and then we go and color with our use cases and whatever we have. So that's the way to get going.
I'm tempted to give a word to Teemu, who is now going to work on that very book. Sorry, we will come back to you in a minute.
And as you have already done, you have come to us on the emission side. And that is the one thing that if somebody of you have that kind of need, that there is no standard way of doing that in the market, and EU do not have any kind of standard yet, come to us and we can discuss what we can do for the industry. Can we help them, and can we do some standardized way how to share the data?
Common description for API for load.
Yeah. Share the data.
Like EDIFACT, but for modern technologies.
Exactly.
Okay, Sami wants to follow on that. Karno, we come back to you in a minute.
Yeah, because it was a question about regulation, I have to keep on that, and I cannot see that there would be huge increase in regulation, but maybe transformation of the regulation, so that there won't be so many obligations, but much more responsibility. And we are changing from the active regulation to the passive regulation, that if everything goes well and everybody's willing to share data for the whole logistics and supply chain, and everything goes well, nobody would anymore notice those passive regulation.
Thank you. Karno.
Okay, thank you everybody. I've done some studies and they show that about 4% of the investments are going to digitalization in logistics. There might be other studies, you can correct me. If it's only 4% today, what do you think it needs to be for us to achieve all of this? And who is actually paying? Are the companies capable of investing into this enough so that we can actually transform the industry? Or are you looking for EU and government to pay for this? Thank you.
Good question. Who would like to address that? Eva is the proud one.
I can. As the FT regulation is compulsory for governments at the moment, then at the moment I guess that the government has a quite huge share to be responsible of digitalization and invest in this. But the hope regarding all this FT regulation is that by doing this, it will nudge the sector also and the stakeholders to be more active and maybe to see the benefits on this and then start to invest themselves also to this. So I think it will be like governmentally led issue, but then the hope is that it will bring more investments to the private sector also.
Sounds good. I think we have also Maria to comment on it.
Yeah, I have a question, but I can firstly say that we are looking for the funding that we have already passed in the parliament, that the 4% of the GDP would be targeted to RDI, and part of that should be put in the logistics, and we are trying to guard that it will go so forward so that the innovation funding, whatever it is, will also be addressed to this sector. But my question was, as we have two hats, like we are authorities as guardians for the good of the society, but also authorities as enablers that benefits businesses and so forth. And you are given now the authority to write what the next government will do during the next 4 years. So what is on your wish list?
That's a perfect time to put through your ideas now. Who would like to comment? What should we put on the next government?
Yeah, we have elections coming, so please.
What I would like to say, what I have been saying a lot of European conferences, we are a little bit late. I have said this by a very important man from very important bank, very publicly said logistics sector is late already to meet all the sustainable deadlines, targets. And what about my wish list is that what it came out of this conference was that long-haul rail, short-haul electrified truck. So, and this concept to make the switch from truck to rail, it doesn't have to be all, but its share should be grown. And there is more interest on that. Trucking company will not lose their job. Their business will change a little bit to adapt. There's no drivers, fuel cost, blah, blah, blah. We have telling this. By the way, I heard from that conference that Uzbekistan is training 10,000 truck drivers per year for European market for the next 5 years. So the trucking driver issue will be not so important anymore. But anyway, to switch rail, long haul from truck to rail, and short distance electrified truck, and self-automized truck without drivers. So to have this concept of politicians to see that sustainable is quite easy to achieve.
You should know that Maria is writing. Now is the time to make your questions. Any other brave questions? Yeah,
I have a question here. Going back a bit what Karno was saying, also going back what Anders was saying, that as a logistics, we are late when it comes to sustainability. And I think that the digitalization today is going all over the place. And my question to you guys is that when it comes to the sustainability, and take as an example the CO2 intensiveness we have in the different modes of transportation. We go more and more to the multimodal, especially when it comes to Finland, Estonia, and traffic further. How on earth are we going to be secured that we are using real-time data on all modes of transport when it comes to the CO2 and versus then the load we have on the transport unit?
Okay, thank you. Who would like to take this one? How to make use of real-time data in multimodal supply chains?
Tomi has the question.
I would like to continue what the question that Arno presented and also answered to Maria. So when we talk about digitalization, so the statistics don't, in a way, they are not reliable because in a way it's about software. And we develop that usually with the so-called agile methods these days. So it means that they don't show up in investment statistics. And if we want to achieve something, so what we need to do, we need to learn. And that means that we need to have pilots, we need to have proof of concepts, we need to do, in a way, experiments. And I think that if that kind of money is available, because it's not that big, we start from small, we extend, we go to the next level, and at some point of time there's going to be an investment.
So that's extending to what Eva was saying, that we may have that 50% by 2030, but we need to do a lot of work to get there. Very good. Right.
But I would like to answer your question. I don't know. But that's the honest answer. Nobody knows. And this is the magic word is trust life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. And the one thing also is my favorite issue, I'm very sorry, but we are all need to remember one thing. Europe is the most sustainable region in the world, and we want to achieve all these goals and stuff like that. But in Europe, importance in worldwide sustainability is 5%. If all our companies will go sustainable and digitalization in next 5 years, it will have an impact 5%. In what we say in Estonia, nothing. So China, India, Brazil, US, they are the ones we need to convince to make the change. This is also, it's a small provocation. I will leave it in the air, but we need to remind this also.
Okay, thank you. All right, let me continue the round. There's been a lot of questions in between. I'd like to ask Toni about your challenge. What do you think what should we do to make ECMR really successful in road transport? If you were in charge and you could make things happen.
It's pretty natural in the sense that we are heading toward autonomous driving, and there is no driver to sign the papers anymore then. So we are heading that one, and forest runners will have certain portion of automation in the fleet. We are already driving platooning with 50 trucks, so it will come as an autonomous eventually, and we will see 27, 28 when we have certain number of the trucks which are actually driving 24 hours to 7 days a week. There is no need for stopping, so to speak. There is no driver to have the physical hours, how many hours he can work. So that will drive actually the digitalization as well. But surely there is challenge with SMEs. It's all like a couple of person companies. They have challenges. They have at this moment only a mobile phone and they get the orders by SMS and emails and these kind of things. Those will have challenge to have the digitalization. But I would assume that there will become applications where you can digitalize the scan and then it goes to load it as a FT paper. So it's digitalization will happen ways and another.
At least how we work is that we form this, as I said, like natural partnerships. So for example, we want to interact with forerunning companies in this area that want to advance digitalization and carbon footprint measurement of the deliveries. We start collecting the data. We co-create with that kind of companies who share this common vision. And for instance, in the fossil-free steel, then we have announced partnerships, for example, with Mercedes-Benz and Volvo construction equipment that we share a vision and we want to develop some things together onwards. So.
I would like to add at this point that Ulrika said that there's going to be maybe a new project where we are trying to get the SMEs also trained more into digitalization and logistics. So we are working on that one too. But we can talk about that when we go back. Right, Teemu, I think that now that everybody knows you, how can we assure that there's going to be a sustainable long-term service for data sharing in logistics? You're the man to make it happen. So how do we get it?
Sustainable.
Well, sustainable and long-term.
Long-term, okay. Long-term, if we are doing cooperation with all the projects and with you, then it will be long-term when we have national, you want to use it naturally and you will be part of that one. But sustainable, okay, maybe we can take care of that on the development and all part of that, and also see that all sustainable things are taken part in during the development.
Thank you. Then finally, Sami, when we talk about FT, we're doing it for you, you know. This FT gate, you're the guy who's going to be the main customer for it in the beginning. So what are you going to make with all the work that we're doing for you? You get all this data about transportation, who's driving, what's the truck, and all this. I hope we're not doing it in vain. Are you going to make use of this data? And how?
Hopefully we are using that data so that you won't ever know that. Nice. Meaning that that data helps us not to interrupt logistics. That would be most our best benefit for industry and supply chain, and that is my is it a dream or a future picture that we have enough intelligence, enough data, enough acknowledgement that only those supply chains will be interrupted, which is really needed. But okay, about the costs. We are facing our own digitalization in EU-wide in customs world, and it's costing huge money. We are talking about billions there, what is costing, and what is the benefit and who is costing? Everybody's costing, paying for that, because of everybody's benefiting from that. It costs at the beginning, and everybody believes at least that the benefits comes, but it takes time. And it comes several ways. As an opportunity to develop your own business processes and digitalization and sharing data, but of course about, again, the paper documents. I would say that that's workful, not only for industry or logistics, but especially for authorities over there, and everybody wants to get rid of those. And about the regulation discussed, I cannot see that there would be any declarations from industry or something for the authorities when we have shared data. Authorities' responsibilities raise that they have to collect the data for the declaration, not so that customers are giving any declarations. It sounds like something 60s.
Thank you all. I'm watching the clock, and unfortunately we have to close this soon, but if there is still something which is left not to be said, now you can say still it shortly. So Andres, if you want to start.
Harri Roompera is the second as the first leg, start leg.
Thank you. Eva?
I just want to thank for this great event, and I believe that with this kind of great people and good enthusiasm, we can go digital sooner as European Union forces us.
Thank you, Niko.
Thank you for the possibility to spend the afternoon with people smarter than me, so at least I learned a lot, so thank you.
I agree with previous talkers, so thank you very much.
Thank you, and if you have ideas what kind of pilots we can do related to FT, bring us ideas so that it's worthwhile to use the FT in future.
Thank you, and let's be all believers so we can achieve concrete results also someday.
Nice. Thank you, and Matti. Thank you very much, all the panelists, and special thank you all the audience for the active and really lively discussion. We really appreciate this, and now we have a good way forward. So one takeaway is the collaboration, and without the common understanding, the common can't be found. And this should be together with the companies, authority, research sector to find the common goals. So let's talk about these now at the cocktails. It's starting